I'm calling to order the October 14th, 2024 meeting of the Harris Township Board of Supervisors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. Better be a lot of moving and seconding between you two guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anyway, so approval of minutes. We have two sets of minutes, September 9th and a September 25th meeting to approve this month.
Approve both of those, sir.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Bruce raised his hand, so that's an affirmative.
Oh, he did? Oh, there he is.
Yes, he's on there. Okay,
Hi,
okay.
where are we at, Bruce?
I'm in Cadiz.
What's that?
Southern Spain.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Next is citizen comments. Members of the public are invited to comment on any item not on the agenda. So if you're here for something that is on the agenda, please wait until that time. Please limit just to 5 minutes. If anybody has any comments, please come up to the mic and introduce yourself. Okay, seeing none. New agenda items thing. I don't suppose any of the board has a new agenda item they want to add for discussion? No? Okay. Township business then, 2025 police report, and Chief John Gardner is here. Whenever you're ready.
We need to get to the microphone. That's right. Yeah, you need the microphone, so however you want to do that.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me down here to present this budget to you. I'll try to get through it as expeditiously as possible. If you have any questions, I don't know if you want to ask them while I'm going or you want to wait to the end. I'll leave it up to you. So, okay. Basically, it's just our mission statement. I'm not going to bore you with reading all that. It's the same thing I show you every year, but it's a credo that we live by. It's not just words on paper. We truly believe that. So, next slide. And these are just the key points out of that mission statement. Being committed to responsive to our community. Our mission is to improve quality of life in our jurisdictions through a community partnership and in endeavoring to reduce citizen concerns regarding criminal activity, neighborhood deterioration, and just overall continual nuisances. So, this is our vision statement again. I'm not going to read that. I think we boil it down on the next slide a little bit, maybe. These are our core values, but basically these are the things that we hold near and dear. Honor, we will lead exemplary lives both on and off duty. Honesty and integrity, we're going to do what's right, legal, ethical, and moral. Professionalism, we want to be professional in all our actions, behavior, and performance. Respect, we want to respect the dignity of every individual we encounter. Responsibility and accountable, we want to be faithful to our responsibilities and be accountable as well. And then wellness, we take care of ourselves, our coworkers, and our families, because if we're not well, we're not going to be real helpful to you folks as well. So, next slide. This is our department of makeup. This is our organizational chart. I just think it's important that you know who's policing your community. Just a little bit about our breakdown, how we're broken down into the platoons. There's 2 daylight platoons, platoons A and B, and there's 2 night shift platoons, C and D. There's a lieutenant that's in charge of the night shift, and then there's 2 sergeants on each of those platoons. So in the past we had a lieutenant on each of those patrol shifts. This way, with 1 overall lieutenant, there's more continuity between the night shifts and the daylight shifts, where they're answering to 1 lieutenant. We find it's much easier, and it's worked really well. There's a breakdown. There's a traffic unit, domestic violence unit, detective unit, and what have you. But over here, we are authorized 60 sworn officers. We currently have 3 vacancies in the police department. Just a little bit about a breakdown. 84% of our officers have college degrees, And I can't see that, what percentage is, yeah, 14% have master's degrees. So as you can see from that, we have a pretty educated police department. 28% are military veterans, and 50% of the veterans have a college degree as well. 12 of the 16 supervisors have at least a bachelor's degree, and 4 have master's degrees. 6 of the administrators and supervisors have command school training. And what that is, it's advanced training like the FBI National Academy or Northwestern School of Command. 18% of the officers we have are female. Out of the 60 or the 57 we currently have right now, 6% of the supervisors are female, 20% of the detectives are female, and 11% of our officers are people of color, either African American, Hispanic, Native American, or Pacific Islander. So we've really improved on that so that our department is more reflective of the communities we police. So something we're very proud of as we continue to add officers. Next slide. These are our goals and objectives, and we want to reduce crime through crime prevention initiatives, promote traffic safety in all our jurisdictions, improve the safety of the communities, be responsive to quality of life issues, enhance police professionalism through training, and you'll see that as we go through this presentation, the time and money that we spend on training. We want to foster diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging, and we want to recruit and retain quality employees, which is not the easiest thing to do in this present climate. Next. This is just fostering some of our community diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging. These are just some of the partnerships that we have. As you can see, with us being in the hub, we have an advisory committee on police and communities of color. We have Center County Community Conferencing, which we've used pretty much. We use this in terms of a lot of instances where we have disputes. Maybe it's neighbor disputes, whether it's property disputes, boundary disputes. Instead of getting police involved where we're citing someone or whatever, we can actually sit down and have this community conferencing group try to mediate some of those things. And that's available to everybody, whether it's College, Harris, or the borough as well. So it's worked really well for us where we're just at a standstill with trying to get disputes resolved. We work with the National Center for Policing Equity, the State College NAACP chapter, Community and Campus and Unity, and our neighborhood coalitions, and the Community Oversight Board, which was put in place after our police shooting in 2019. Just some of the groups that we collaborate with. Next. Getting into I mentioned about training. These are just some of the things that where we put our money. Obviously, these are the command staff, schools, Northwestern, that we send at least one supervisor every year to that. We recently, within the past year and a half, promoted 4 officers to sergeant. And as a result of that, we've set them up for Northwestern Supervision of Police Personnel, where they actually went through a 3 or 4 month course where they were subjected to a lot of supervisory tasks and experiences, and just to give them that background for assuming supervisory responsibilities. Each year we have mandatory in-service training, which involves like legal updates, the most recent updates in the law enforcement, ethics, community relationships, and so the state sets those. We have to do those every year. In addition, these are things that we do ourselves. Every year we certify in taser, handcuffing, baton, OC and pepper spray and pepper ball instructor things. Recently our community standards officer went through an informing the public, which is public information officer training, what to say and do in critical incidents and the messages we want to get out there. We just had an individual complete basic investigation, levels 1, 2, and 3 for crash reconstruction, and that was Officer Betts. So he's now a full-fledged accident reconstructionist, and he's in our traffic unit right now. We continue to send all our officers when we can. It's given twice a year crisis intervention team training, where officers go and it's a 40-hour course where they learn to de-escalate and volatile situations and deal with individuals. It's basically the gold standard in policing. It's about talking to people. It's about bringing them from a position where they're up here, down here, so that we don't have to use force against them. We also had domestic terrorism and violent extremism training. which is all you got to do is read the newspaper or look at the news, and it's a problem in every community in America, and it can happen anywhere. We had our National Tactical Officers Association Public Order Basic Command certification. We sent our social worker to the National Police Social Worker Conference in New Haven, Connecticut. I went to that conference as well, and I must say that our program rates right up there with everyone else. And you'll see later in this presentation, we'll give you statistics about what our social workers been doing, including what's been going on with residents of Harris Township as well. We had the National Rifle Association Handgun and Shotgun Instructor Certification. All of our instructors have to be certified either annually or biannually, so we make sure that they maintain their certification, because we do all that in-house training ourselves rather than sending people away or bringing in instructors to certify us. And then there's the National Tactical Officers Association Basic SWAT. All our TRT members or Tactical Response Team members have this training as well. Next slide, please. And then just hazardous device school, civil rights enforcement certifications for lethal, less lethal, and tactics training, improving criminal justice responses, basic police motorcycle. We have 3 motorcycle operators right now. We have one that we just sent away to be certified as a motorcycle operator, and there's going to be another one we'll have certified in 2025, giving us 5 motorcycle officers. And that gives us the enhanced ability to get into areas where it's very difficult to do traffic enforcement, where we can send motorcycles in, and it really helps us as well. RAP virtual reality training, we have a simulator where we can plug in scenarios for officers, and it has, I don't know, it's got maybe 50 to 100 scenarios where we can actually put them in virtually in a situation, and they're going to experience it like they're there, and it's really vivid. And I would encourage anyone that wants to on this board that would like to see it, we can certainly demonstrate it for you. But it gives you an opportunity to react to situations virtually you find yourself in, and it's not always about. It's about good decision making. It's not about shooting but you're put in situations where you really have to think, and it is very, very realistic. So it gives us that ability to train officers. Advanced collision investigation focused on pedestrians and motorcycles. So not only can we reconstruct accidents, but it's also accidents involving pedestrians and motorcycles. We have passenger safety seat technicians. We have several officers that are certified to install car seats for individuals, because there's a right way and a wrong way to install this. So we offer that service. Searchy evidence processing for crime scenes and all that. We do that almost every year. In fact, we're hosting one again this year. Emergency vehicle operation, National Rifle Association armorer certification. We have our own in-house armorers who work on our weapons themselves. And we have several of those who are certified. And then law enforcement intelligence. Next. Those are just some of the trainings. That's not by any means an all-inclusive list, but that's just to give you a general idea. In 2024, we had officers or supervisors attend the following conferences. Our domestic violence conference, which I might add, we've had our domestic violence unit's been around since 2008. We've been funded by a grant that keeps getting approved. We've had it for 16 years, and we continue to set the standard, I think, for response to domestic violence, not only in Pennsylvania, but in the country as well. We have the National and Pennsylvania School Resource Officer Conferences. So our 2 school resource officers, they go to the national conference, and then there's a Pennsylvania one. So they keep up to date on the latest trends in school resources and the problems and the issues that are faced in the schools, and we like to think we're ahead of the curve there. We also, our social worker attends both the national and the Pennsylvania Police Social Worker Conference. As I mentioned, this past May, we were up in New Haven, Connecticut for that one, and as I speak now, our social workers at the Pennsylvania one right now. Hostage negotiation or crisis negotiation seminar. We have certified hostage negotiators or crisis negotiators. There's 2 or 3 of those. They go to the annual FBI one to keep up and hone their skills, so that we are able to, in time of crisis, if we have a barricaded gunman or a situation where we need to negotiate with somebody. We have our own in-house investigators. We also attend the Pennsylvania Homicide Investigators Association Conference, Pennsylvania Police Accreditation Conference, and I might add, last year I mentioned that we were recertified again for the 5th time, giving us premium status, and we're one of a very, very small number of police departments in Pennsylvania that hold that status. And in the Pennsylvania Crime Prevention and Community Relations Symposium we attend as well. Just some of the conferences and symposiums we went to in 2024. Grants and awarded for 2024 and 25. We had the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency grant for a second police social worker, which we hope to add in 2025. We had the Victim-Centered Intensive Case Management, or the Domestic Violence grant, was renewed. We have a PCCD grant awarded for technology improvements for new surveillance cameras and a new records management system. As you may or may not be aware, we're in the process of replacing our police records management system. We're in a consortium with Penn State, Patton, and Ferguson. We got a grant from PCCD and roughly about $1.2 million that will pay for that new records system. We also we have a new, we got a grant for surveillance cameras throughout the downtown that will better enable us to identify individuals or vehicles when we need to be, when something serious is happening or occurring. So we'll have updated camera technology to be able to do that. We continue to get our DUI, pedestrian aggressive driving, and seatbelt enforcement grants, and the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board Source Investigation Project, which enables us to track back, which it's basically to try to keep alcohol out of minors' hands, and enables us to use overtime supplied by this grant to track back the source of, if minors have alcohol, it gives us the ability to investigate that and track back where that alcohol is coming from. So, spotlight on our officers and introducing new members of the department. Officers Dylan James, May Matsui, Mike Wallace, and Robert Owen successfully completed police academies and have been in field training. James, Matsui, and Wallace were recently released to solo patrol, so now they're able to act on their own. Robert Owens has about another month and he'll be out on his own. We have another individual, Ethan Rossman, was hired, and he's attending IUP Police Academy, and he will be graduating in November 22nd, I believe. And then we're anticipating, we're in the process right now, we're going to begin testing, or a recruiting process in early November, and we hope to start testing certainly after the first of the year. Because as I state right now, we have 3 openings, and we also know 2 other officers are leaving in next year, and that would be John Aston, who is the school resource officer, and Kevin Winkleblack. So they have no choice; they have to leave. They entered our drop pension program, and their time is up next year, so they'll be leaving for that. Next. Some of the accomplishments of 2024, as I mentioned earlier, Nathan Betts, he's with the traffic unit now, but he recently completed all certifications as an accident reconstructionist. Lucas Scherer was awarded the Top Gun DUI Association Top Gun Award for arrest and DUI. Craig Ripka, pictured here with Tracy Small, who's the CIT coordinator, was awarded the Crisis Intervention Team Officer of the Year for his work as a sexual assault detective. And we contracted with Globo, which is an organization for translation services, and they can provide, I forget how many languages. If we have somebody that doesn't speak English, obviously as a first language, or speaks another language, we can contact them, and they are certified to assist us with interviewing and translation services. So it's a really good service. The VCICM, which is our domestic violence program, received a $7,000 donation from South Hill School of Business for outreach and public service club for the benefit of domestic violence victims. And then we replaced all our body-worn camera and our in-car camera system. So it seems hard to believe we had body-worn cameras we got in 2020, excuse me. And we've had to replace those now because the technology is better, so we've replaced all those, and as well as the in-car camera ones. So, next. Some of the other accomplishments we held. This is the 3rd annual Citizens Police Academy we've had. It's in the process of wrapping up. It'll be done in, I think, another couple sessions. We held Center County Camp Cadet, was pictured here. This was Girls Week. We participated again in the annual Special Olympics torch run. I formed a new Chiefs Advisory Committee. It's a committee that we had years ago. I brought back because what we do, we've appointed, there's 7 to 8 individuals on it, from supervisors to detectives, officers, and some civilians on it. Basically is, it gives them an opportunity to bring suggestions to myself and my staff, whether it be training initiatives, whether it be policy updates or whatever, or to research things we do, so they bring it to my attention. And then we had Officer Karen Thomas was nominated for a life-saving award. Next. Some retirements, I think it's important. Officer Nick Argero retired with 29 years of service. Janelle Rozek, who was an administrative assistant in the records section, retired after 16 years. And Officer Drew Sim retired with 24 years of service to the police department. And Teresa Gedman retired after 35 years of service. So those are just some of the departures that we like to acknowledge. Promoted and newly hired civilian employees. Obviously, Alicia Schaefer was promoted from senior records tech to records supervisor, replacing Teresa Gedman. Heather Royer, who was a former officer with us, accepted a position of senior administrative assistant. She works directly for me. Jeanette Spencer was a former sheriff's deputy in Citrus County, Florida. She accepted a position of a records technician. She has a lot of experience, and she was a deputy, I forget, close to 30 years. So she's bringing a pretty unique perspective to that job. Tara Mitchell was a former operations manager of business development at AccuWeather. She accepted the position of administrative assistant, replacing Janelle Rozek, who we talked about. And Craig Bowser, who was the former IT manager at the borough, accepted the position of an IT analyst in the police department. So he's going to start with us on November 4th. And the borough just hired his replacement, who will be starting within the next couple of weeks. Just some notable events in Harris Township. We arrested a Harris Township woman for aggravated assault for a domestic stabbing. We investigated 2 fatal crashes, and we provided traffic control for an increased number of events at Tussey Mountain, including Wingfest and the numerous concerts. So those are just some of the things that we wanted to highlight for the township here. Upcoming trainings this coming year is things we're going to be looking at doing, and I won't read all through, but you can just see a lot of the things that we're doing, because police work, and I've said this many times when I come down here, it's not just about statistics and arrests. It's about, making sure your personnel and your people have the best training available, and so they can do the best possible job. So we put a lot of time, money, and effort into training our individuals so they become subject matter experts. So just some of the things here to consider. Next. Getting into our social worker is Amanda Matan. She's been here for 2 years now. So far in 2024, there have been 360 referrals. Since the start of that social worker program in June of 2022, there have been 1,248 referrals. Next. So the police social worker participates in she's part of the crisis negotiation team. Remember I said we have crisis negotiators or hostage negotiators. She helps with that team. She's our county she's on the Center County Crisis Delegate Monthly Meeting, Suicide Prevention Task Force, Crisis Intervention Team Steering Committee, Elder Abuse Task Force, Behavioral Health Diversionary Initiative, and a mental health community resources. So she's tied into all this. Prior to her, we had officers that had to deal with this, taking them away from these things. She has now been able to take on these things and do a lot of the follow-up that fell on officers before. Now officers can now do their job and still maybe get involved in some of this stuff, but it's taken that burden off the officers. She started a monthly meeting for police social workers in Pennsylvania and is now incorporating site visits around the state. And we continue, and she developed, and we continue to have a partnership with a psychiatric provider that sees individuals within 2 weeks of referral. And that was totally unheard of before, but that's through her efforts she was able to develop that. So, which is very critical when you think about the number of calls we go on a daily basis that these services are required. Next, please. Just some of the statistics who receive services provided by the social worker. If you look at the municipality, Harris Township is 10%. Besting out College Township at 7%. Obviously, the bulk of who she works with are based in the State College Borough. There's the age demographics that she's dealing with. There's the race demographics, and then the gender demographics right there. So it gives you an idea who she's dealing with on a daily basis. And then the calls for service down here, as you can see, it looks like for the past, 4 years and up to the present here, your calls for service have remained pretty steady down here. Pretty steady as well. Any questions about that at all? Okay. Here's your Part 1 and Part 2 crimes. This is for January 1 through December 31st of last year. You can look at Part 1 crimes at the top are I don't want to say more serious, but they are more serious. Every crime is serious, but these are your real problematic ones. And you can see in the township you had no homicides. Your biggest thing was theft down here at 25 and assaults. Now, when you look at rape, it says 3 rapes. That's just a different coding method. Everything used to commit before, but unless there was an arrest made for it, it was not titled a rape, it was titled sexual assault. Under new UCR guidelines, everything that comes in where there's an allegation that it was a rape or something like that, we have to classify it as a rape. So don't look like we have a uptick in rapes or anything like that, but that's just a coding thing. And then you look down at Part 2 crimes, obviously you see disorderly conduct leads the way here. DUI, alcohol and controlled substances, and criminal mischief. So, and fraud, 14. So overall, the township is pretty safe, and I think you probably already know that there's nothing out of the ordinary here or would give me cause for concern here. So that's last year. Next. This is from January 1 through August 31st of this year, and you can look at that again. 10 assaults, 48 disorderly conducts, 14 frauds. So nothing alarming in those statistics at all either. Overall, Harris Township is a pretty safe place. Next. This is your Harris Township. That data I just talked to you about, this is plotted that shows you where all these things are occurring. Okay. I will say in red there, you'll see these points have been randomly offset for privacy protection, just so that we aren't pointing a finger at an address or something like that. They've been offset a little bit just to protect identity. Any questions on that?
Not on that particular, John, but you've not said anything about the life support importance that your officers play with respect to a family member having a heart attack and the squad cars arriving before ambulances.
Yeah, we do.
That's a selling point that I've often made, that because we have mutual boundaries with college and state college, we can get an officer to your home much quicker.
Well, LifeLink will tell you that themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Their average response might be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We're there in 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah, you need to put that in one of your charts with respect to
Sometimes even
importance.
sooner, because we carry naloxone for drug overdose, we have AEDs, and we have oxygen and all, so we've had many saves over the year. I was probably remiss in not putting that in there.
Put that on one of your charts, because it's an important issue.
It is. Where seconds matter, not just minutes, but seconds sometimes matter. So that's the crime data plotted. Next slide, please. Just a little bit about enforcement in the township. We conducted 279 traffic enforcement stops for violations other than DUI. Our strategic traffic enforcement plan identifies the top locations to target those enforcement actions. Speed sentry data collection and compliance enhancement, like radar speed signs, we'll put those around. If you feel you're having issues in certain locations, let us know, we can put those out. Collaborative efforts on traffic calming with Township and PennDOT, and an aggressive driving grant provides manpower to target specific violations. Next. So these are just some of the locations. If you look at this, where the locations are the most problematic, where we see the most activity, and what those violations are there. So that's probably not a shocker or a surprise to anyone. All right, next. The crash information for Harris Township, this is from 9/1/23 through October 31st of this year. The total crashes are 69, that's down from the previous period. Reportable crashes, 37 down, 4. Everybody, what a reportable crash is a vehicle where it's a crash where a vehicle can't be driven from the scene under its own power, it has to be towed, or there's an injury no matter how slight. It's a reportable crash. Those types of crashes have to be reported to PennDOT. Injury crashes, we had 15 down from 4. DUI-related crashes, 3 down 1. Fatalities, 2, no change. Fatal pedestrian crashes, 0. So the violations we're commonly seeing that contribute to the top crash contributors are following too closely, safe speeds, red light violations. Next. And this is where your crashes are occurring. These are the areas where the most crashes are occurring. Next. And then finally, we're proposing 76 hours of police service. At that rate, I did say I have to caution you on this rate. Right now, we're in the process of negotiating with our police union. Their contract ends the end of this year. This was my best guesstimate.
The Harris Township meeting.
I don't.
We don't talk about the salary.
Well, hello, little Miss Sally.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. The bottom line is this was my best guesstimate. I don't think it will be much higher than that, but I just want to caution you that it could go up because our officers right now are negotiating with our manager, and it looks like they may be headed to arbitration as well too, because they looked at what another township just got in their police contract and they want the same. So I just wanted to be upfront about that. So questions?
We've been running 76 hours for
Long time.
5 to 6 years now.
Probably something like that.
And we have been at 73, 74, and we've crept to 76, and been holding 76. What's a squad car cost you?
Well, it's probably about $47,000 fully equipped.
How many years life you get out of a squad car? Under
I
normal
think we
conditions?
depreciate them over a 5-year
Yeah,
period. Yeah. So,
good.
I had a couple comments,
Sure.
not quite. Your social police, and I'm assuming they're embedded with the police office.
They
Do
are.
they do mostly follow-up?
they do.
Okay, because I went to PML and I attended a session on this and it was quite eye-opening. And I know Lancaster's slowly starting. Now, how many social officers do you have?
We have one, and we're looking to add a second one.
Okay, all right, because they didn't have a lot of data, but it seems to me like they were going out and targeting frequent flyers. And they would go out and get them to agencies that would keep them from repeating the thing. In the long run, I think that would reduce the number of calls you would have and free you up. So I commend you for that, because like I said, it was something I just learned about this last weekend. I think it's a good program. The only other comment I had for you is there anything here that we can help you with? Is there any increase in something you see coming? Maybe it's not here yet, but you see, we're going to see an uptick in this. Anything like that we should be aware of, that we should maybe pass an ordinance or a resolution or anything like that?
Nothing up to mind, other than the fact, and I think we all know it, the mental health crisis is through the roof, and our officers are dealing with that every single day, multiple times a day. And that's where we talked about, you said about people we deal with on a routine basis, and that's where social work has really come into play here, because while officers in the past, all our officers, I've got confidence our officers can handle those things, but that's not really what they were hired to do. They can go and stabilize the situation, and then a social worker takes over, and then our social worker then goes and does that follow-up, making sure they're taking their meds, making sure they're going to their appointments and things like that. So I just say, continue to give us the support you've given over the years. I know our officers like coming down here and working down here, and I think the best thing you could do is just let them know that you support them, and I'll be sure to let you know if you could do something for us.
Okay.
And I will tell you this, do the same thing too, in terms of if you want to see something different as well. down
And
there.
you still have the card on the bulletin board. Let the red Corolla alone.
You do.
Okay, thank you.
But that's it. So any other questions? Well, thank you for partnering with us.
Bunch of future officers there, John.
Yeah, that's the hope. You know? There might be one or two of them in there.
Thank you, by the way, for another good year.
Thank you.
You guys do a great job.
Well, we appreciate it. This is a great place down here. We want to keep it that way. We have a great community down here.
You've been with us as Township Police since Tom King started, which was the mid-'80s?
I always get this messed up. One was College in Harris. One's been with us since 75, and the other one since 81.
81.
81. Okay, so college must be 75 then. So, and we appreciate that. All right?
John, Bruce Ford here.
Yes, Bruce.
I haven't commented every year, so I won't belabor, but the single most comment we have from our residents is traffic enforcement,
Yep.
particularly speed.
And we will make that, and I'm not making excuses, but we've been down 5 officers. We've got 4 of them that are getting ready to go out on their own again and will be able to act, and I can assure you that's going to be a priority. And that's the thing too, Frank, and you asked, let us know where those complaints are coming from and we'll follow up on it.
Good, thank you.
Not me.
So let us know, call us and let us know.
Oh, we have.
All right?
Okay,
All right, thank you again.
thank
We're
you,
gonna beat
chief.
feet to the council meeting now.
Okay, yeah. Oh, we let you off easy then.
Yeah, thanks again.
Uh-huh.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next is hometown Christmas requests.
All right, so Bollesburg Hometown Christmas will be held on Saturday, December the 7th. The Hometown Christmas Committee are making several changes to this year's event, including carriage rides from 1 to 5 p.m., a live reindeer exhibit in the township parking lot from 1 to 4 p.m., and they're going to still have the mailbox for Santa down on the diamond for the duration of the holiday season. And they're also asking for some changes to the road closures, which are outlined in the agenda. Annette Yorks and Robin Browse are here to provide a little bit of information, and they did provide some maps here of the route for the carriage rides. So,
Just one update, the carriage rides are gonna be from noon to 4. Noon to 4. There was one thing we wanted to talk about. There is a star called Meg's Star. And we're wondering if, because it was given to Hometown Christmas, if there's a possibility that can go where the flag goes for Memorial Day, if that can be put up between the flag poles.
oh, so it's something would hang
It's
across
big,
the-
yeah. I actually have a picture of it on my phone, but it's like PVC. It was donated by.
So Mark
Yeah.
and Tracy Warren, many of you probably have seen that light on the hill for years and years and years over on Apollo and, is it Oak Hall Street, I think? But it's been there for a long time, and then their tree had to be taken down, and then, so there was a story behind it. It's Meg's Star. It was put up many years ago as a woman, I think, was in failing health, and she just wanted to see the star. And so they've donated it to Hometown Christmas, and our goal was originally to try to get it on the tree over there that we like for the holidays. That tree is not going to hold that light.
It'll look like the Charlie Brown
It's
tree
going
by
to
the
drop
time
it over, we think. So we're trying to maintain this, historical, if you call it that. I don't know if it's really that, but it's been a memory for a long time. So that was why the request to see. It's not here. It just literally came up today when we discovered that that tree's not going to hold that light.
Yeah.
So you want to put it between the flag poles for Christmas?
For
Yeah,
Christmas
for Christmas.
only.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
during
so-
the holiday season. That's the only time it would be
Right.
there.
I think you'd probably have to ask Donnie.
Yeah, it's something we'll need to check with.
Yeah, you need to check with
Maintenance
Donnie.
But we
staff
didn't know
on
if
this
it was
to see
something
about-
that, like,
We didn't know if you
brought
guys
it
had
up,
to-
and then we had to come back here or what, so.
I think Donnie would probably be the best guy to look at to see.
I
if
can
that
talk
works.
to him about it.
Okay,
Just
Okay.
find
yeah,
out about
that was the
any
addition.
issues.
Any questions?
Yeah, you said you want these street closures.
Right, at the.
Diamond to Tennis Alley, Church Street, from Rocky Alley to Chambers Alley.
Mhm.
Yes.
From 3:45 to 6:45. Did we already approve something, or is that, so this is first request?
This is in here for the first time.
All right, I'll
It's
make
been
a
a whole
motion to
year.
approve the closure of Main Street from the eastern end of Diamond of the Diamond to Tennis Alley and Church Street from Rockies Alley to Chambers Alley on December 7th, from 3:45 to 6:45 p.m. for the tree lighting, and approval of of us to use the Bollesburg Fire Police for traffic control for the event.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
It's always amazing the number of people that come down for the tree lighting.
Yeah, it's been really
That's
great.
great, that's why we're
Yeah.
trying to add more for the year.
Yeah, my wife makes me come down.
So
Tradition.
we're not doing anything of the red sheet request tonight.
I don't know which one that one is.
That's next.
That's in there.
Bollesburg Village
Just getting
Conservancy, Bollesburg
presentation.
Conservancy
Okay.
request for funding for
Okay.
2025 community events.
Yeah, so the Bollesburg Village Conservancy submitted a request for financial support for community events in 2025. They're requesting $4,750 in support, which will be utilized as outlined in the agenda. Memorial Day, $3,000 for EMS services, $750 for the 6 p.m. service, and Hometown Christmas, $1,000 for lights and greens for street lights. And Dottie Yukish is here this evening to, I guess, give a little bit of an overview of your request and answer any questions.
As mentioned in the letter I sent, we put a number of measures in place to hold down our costs. And one of those being that in the past, for years, after the Lions Club and the Hometown Christmas Committee put up the greens and the lights around all the light poles, they were later cut down and thrown away. We're now conserving those. They're being taken down. Of course, the greens are discarded, but the lights are being saved. And what we found out after last year was that they weren't taken down by the township maintenance crew. They were taken down by some of the Lions Club members. And we saved them. There were only a couple strings of lights that were no longer usable, so we saved money there. We've also gone to a different vendor for greens. Our price just kept going up and up and up every year. We now found a new vendor who has quoted us a price up front, which is something we couldn't get before. And it's considerably lower than what we've paid before. Now, the only thing on here that I can see might increase would be the county EMS requirement, and we have no control over that. The $3,000.
Is that shared with the fire department for their memorial?
I don't know if you have an arrangement with the fire company at all or not. I think you just have it here for Memorial Day.
Van
Oh,
shaking-
yeah,
Jan,
yeah.
yes, he's back. in
Van
Chicago,
shaking his head
so
back there.
It's just for that, just for the day in town, it sounds like.
Yes, yes,
3,000 for just a day in town.
yes.
Does the fire department van pay that same for having the ambulance there for the carnival?
The ambulance comes on a voluntary basis. If they have someone available, they'll show up. We are not charged for that. If they don't show up, they don't show up on our carnival nights. But because of the day in town, that's pretty much required to have some ambulance service coverage.
Seems strange to me.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I'm trying to remember when I try to remember, it gets real hazy quick. Last year when we talked about this, I think one of the things we asked about was, could we see the financials of the Conservancy? And we were promised we would see them this year. So, and I'm assuming we would approve this when we do our budget meeting, correct? On
That's
that?
when you normally make those
Yes,
decisions.
we would be making these decisions budget meeting. So I think we would like to see those before we do the budget meeting and take a look at those.
Okay. I can get that for you.
Okay.
So you want like our most recent treasurer's report?
Whatever your balance sheet, your financials, however you report your financials to everybody, I'd like to see.
Okay. Well, we're very pleased that I'm so proud of my board that they have all worked very hard to get us into the green, way out of the red where we were initially. And we've now gotten to the point where we can actually do what we are supposed to do as a conservancy, which is preserve the history and traditions of the Boalsburg Village. We're getting involved in possibly repairing and restoring the bridge on the Military Museum property, because that was designed and built by Gert Aaron, and we want to preserve that. It's in not good condition. And so we're working on, it's on museum property, so we can't determine what happens to that. But I've been in touch with their business manager, and we are certainly willing to help pay for that repair and replacement. And we're hoping they want to do that. The Lions Club is also interested in getting involved in that project. And that would be a wonderful collaborative community project. But we understand that the Military Museum has to go through all the avenues of state bureaucracy to do whatever they do. And so we're waiting for a response on that.
Well, one thing that Mark and I talked about this last weekend when we were at PML, we've tried so many times over the last couple of years, windows in this building, upgrading a lot of the historical stuff, in the town, the sidewalks, and going to these conferences. There's a lot of grants out there with DCED, DCNR and all that. But to start, you got to have a plan of what you want to do. We got to identify what we can and can't do, and put some kind of timeline on when we're doing it. So we talked about trying to put that forefront this year and maybe coming up with that. So we may be asking you to maybe give some input on some of that, as far as, like this building, there's a lot of work needs done on this building, but again, it's one of those things.
Well,
the
and I want
alone were like
to
$50,000.
personally, I want to personally thank Mark for his support, because he has gotten in. We just had our board meeting yesterday afternoon, and Paula Ralph has done a fantastic job of determining what needs to be done to the blacksmith shop, the repairs that need to be done, the inventory of the tools there, which have deteriorated and need to be restored. We voted yesterday to provide $800 to that project, to that inventory project. And that's personal to me because my dad helped Ruth Corder with the original inventory. And so we're working on those kinds of things, which the Conservancy had kind of gotten away from for a couple years.
I would say, don't cut yourself short on $4,750. If that's bare bones,
well,
don't look at that as minimum. I'm willing to add something to that.
Okay, well, thank you, but we think that will do it.
Well,
we did get a $3,500 grant from the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau this week this year for Hometown Christmas, so that helped us tremendously.
By the way, the police budget just went up by $50,000, in case you didn't do that.
because what we give to the museum is a pretty nice amount
Okay,
compared to what you're asking for.
okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. Were there any other questions?
Nope, good.
I do personally want to thank, invite all of the supervisors, and in fact, everyone in this room, to the Conservancy's annual general membership meeting, which will take place November 10th in the fire hall. And this is going to be a really fun meeting. My business meeting will take like 5 minutes. And then we're doing, if any of you know Randy Plug, he has designed a Bollesburg History Jeopardy challenge. And this won't be individuals competing. We are going to have all those who live on the State College side of Church Street and Bollesburg Pike competing against all those who live on the Center Hall side of those streets. And it'll be very informal. Any answers to questions will just be shouted out. Randy's in charge of the whole operation. I'm going to try my best to keep track of the shouted out answers and take score. And there will be no trophy or anything for whichever side wins. You just get bragging rights.
What time?
It is 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, November 10th at the fire hall. And there will be light refreshments there as well. It's a real family-friendly event. I have neighbors that I've given a lot of the books to from the Heritage Museum. Their kids have been studying them, so they're looking forward to coming and being involved in the competition. So it's just meant to be a very light, fun event.
Can we get it on an e-newsletter?
I believe it's already in there, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dottie. Okay, next, request to amend the industrial zoning district to permit indoor recreational facilities.
So at the August 12th meeting, Center Elite Gymnastics presented their request for an amendment to the general industrial district to add indoor recreation as a permitted use. Since that time, the Planning Commission had met and discussed this request twice, with the Center Regional Planning Agency providing their recommendation that the use be added as a permitted use in the general industrial district, and that two new definitions be created and added to the definitions section of the zoning ordinance. Today we did receive an email from a representative of Center Elite Gymnastics stating they are no longer interested in pursuing the request, that they didn't elaborate on why. However, we did also get an email from one of the owners of the industrial park saying they are still interested in having it go forward, just as it would open up more options for uses in the industrial district. So it's all up to the board if you want to continue pursuing this or not. If you do, if you're satisfied with what's been prepared, we would need to have that sent on to the Center Regional Planning Commission for their review before you could hold a public hearing for adoption. But
Okay. Why would we move it on?
Yeah,
If we discussed it?
my only question was, it says indoor recreational facility, for structure for athlete or fitness purposes and shall not include uses typical of an amusement enterprise as herein defined. And that down here it says for the amusement enterprise, entertainment or games of skill to the general public for a fee. If they're having tournaments and stuff, is that considered a fee? If they're charging people to get in a tournament, that's not considered amusement. Or that's just that's okay. That's my question.
Yeah, the tournaments and the competitions they would be having would be things that were typically conducted at the facility. That would be similar to center gymnastics. So it wouldn't be any of those things that would be in an amusement enterprise definition.
What do we need a motion to send it on?
Would the climbing wall that's there now, would that have been considered a indoor recreation facility?
I think it definitely could have been if we had that definition. We don't have that currently defined in our ordinance. And the Planning Commission did discuss whether or not that should be added as a permitted use in the general commercial district, since that's where the climbing wall is currently at. So if that's something...
I thought that was a permitted use in the commercial.
It is, but we don't actually have that defined as a
So
use.
you're saying put these definitions into that also?
I think you could add it as a permitted use in general commercial if you wanted to add that to the ordinance as well. I don't know, Todd, if you have any thoughts on that.
Todd?
No, I think it's fine to add it to general commercial.
Just leave it, just do commercial, not worry about the...
No, do
Commercial
both.
and industrial.
Oh, doing both?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either.
Do you need a motion for that?
But yeah, we would need a motion. Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure why the fee is relevant to this. I mean, to me, it's kind of useless. If someone wants to put a bowling alley in for free, it's the same impact. Well, I don't know where it is. We need to specify, for a fee. Just the uses.
That's in the definition of amusement enterprise that Bruce is pointing out.
Yes, I saw that. I mean, what,
Did you make a motion to move
well,
on?
I can make a motion that we move it to planning, but do we, from what Bruce's comment, do we need to make any adjustments to it? Or doesn't that matter?
Well, our understanding, the CRPA did most of the work on this particular item, and our understanding is they took the definitions from other municipalities, and that's pretty much how they defined it in their ordinances.
So we're talking fees for like game, that you're actually paying to play a game, you're not going to watch a game. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Well, I think you could probably, and I don't know if this addresses Bruce's concern, but you could probably change that with or without a fee.
What's your thought? What would you rather have? You gotta enforce it.
I think leaving it so that it's open to someone who wants to do it without charging a fee, or somebody who wants to charge a fee. I think the people that would want to charge a fee would far outnumber the ones who don't. But I think we probably want to leave it open to those who want to be community-minded like
I
that.
don't have a problem with that. But I'll make a motion that we move it on to CRP, CA or whatever.
Second.
Okay, more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Back out.
Shingletown Road minor subdivision plan.
On September 10th of this year, staff received from Pantera Engineering a minor subdivision plan for the former Ishler property located near the end of West Main Street. The plan proposes to create 6 total lots, 4 with access onto West Main Street and 2 with access onto Shingletown Road. That will be served by public water and sewer. The property is zoned single-family residential R1. 2 reviews of the plan were completed prior to the agenda being prepared, the second of which was included with the agenda, as well as a plan sheet showing the proposed lots. On the wall behind you was also a copy of the plan. A few outstanding comments remain, but it's believed that they could be addressed in a timely fashion. One waiver request was submitted. Chapter 12-710.6 of the zoning ordinance requires pedestrian and bicycle access for developments within the corridor overlay district. A copy of the waiver request was included with the agenda, and it explains their criteria for requesting the waiver. Staff's recommendation is to, number 1, move to either approve or deny the waiver request for 12-710.6 of the zoning ordinance, and 2, move to approve the Shingletown Road minor subdivision plan contingent upon satisfactory completion of comments from the October 4, 2024 letter of the Township Engineer, the October 4, 2024 memo of the Center Regional Planning Agency, the October 4, 2024 email of the Bollesburg Fire Chief, and the October 8, 2024 letter of the zoning officer.
For discussion, I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Which one are you making for the first one? The waiver? The waiver, or you making?
I'll do all of it, and we'll discuss what we need to discuss.
Can we do all of it at once, or should we do
No,
them
we
both separate? I think we should do them
We
separate.
have to do them separate.
So do you
Well,
want,
okay, then I'll,
you want to do number 1 first? The waiver.
well, my question is 4.6B with respect to the fire hydrant location. Van, is that, what's your thinking of that?
Talk about an email later today, you can probably elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, been working with Pantera Engineering, and I think Andrew from Pantera Engineering might be here. Is he here? Yep, there he is. Never met Andrew before. And I think what we've decided is for those 2 lots that, and you can see them on the board here. Lot 1 and Lot 2 would be served by this closest fire hydrant here. The fire hydrant ordinance says that measuring along the right-of-way of the street back through the lot, you can't have a distance greater than 600 feet to the back edge of any structure that could be built on there that's in excess of 5 or 15,000.
Is that Bailey Lane going there?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's Bailey Lane. So basically, if you see that red line on there, that's where that 600 feet would be on that lot, and that's where the 600 feet would be on that lot approximately. That leaves a buildable area on this lot of about 50 by 40, I think, something like that, or 45. The developer, Olga Levi, has said that she can work with that, and obviously it's a lot less of a problem on this lot. So I think that comment has been satisfied for us. A revised plan would show the rear setback line for that lot and that lot moved this way to address that requirement.
How do we sit with hydrants on lot 5 and 6 on Signaltown Road?
There is a hydrant down here somewhere on Linwood.
Bird's house?
On Linwood that is more than capable of reaching both of these lots.
Okay.
We're doing discussion now?
Well, we didn't really have a motion completed yet in a second. So, well, the first thing would be to move on the waiver request.
And that's for the sidewalks and paths, correct?
Yeah.
And that's the bold pink.
I saw it, I read it. Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the waiver request.
Second.
Bruce, second.
Any discussion?
Yeah. With our interest now in doing sidewalks in the village and wherever we can put them, talk to me about how this would fit into our larger plan of doing sidewalks. Or is this sort of a separate satellite sidewalk issue?
Yeah, I think where the bike paths, pedestrian path would typically be is out along Shingletown Road.
Okay.
And I think what the people that have been in to talk to the supervisors about is having sidewalk connections down Main Street.
Yeah.
So I don't know that these two are specifically
It's opposite
related.
side of the building now. Okay, that's what I was wondering about. Okay.
We have no sidewalks there now, right?
No. I mean, coming down West Main.
Yes, yeah, we don't have any sidewalks there now.
It'd be very expensive to put them in.
Okay.
Prohibitive.
That's why I live in my development, no sidewalks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one correction in the agenda, I said chapter 12, it's chapter 11.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you obviously, you can't waive chapter 12.
I just scribbled it out. but-
Yeah, put an 11 in.
Okay.
All right. Anything else about the waiver request? All right. So I'll call the question on that. All in favor of approving that waiver request, say aye.
Aye.
Got anything from Bruce?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. That's unanimous from all of us. Okay. So next, we need a motion to approve the Shingletown Road minor subdivision plan contingent upon everything that Todd already read.
Okay, so I will move to approve that motion.
No.
Second.
Bruce, I have some comments.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have some comments on this one, and I have some concerns. You know, if I look at that, you know, we all know at the end of Main Street, where it comes on to 45, is very, very dangerous. You look right, left, and now we're gonna add two more down there at the bottom.
That
two
would
more
be
out-
about here.
Yes, but we're gonna add two more there that exits onto that road. I guess I'm gonna be very, very interested in the traffic study, not just how many, but is it getting to the point where with adding those couple of houses, is it getting to the point where we start needing the red light there? I mean, you know, we've already got cars coming up over that hill, and we've tried to reduce the speed for 20 years, and we can't get PennDOT to do that. I mean, we've got it right there in front of it, we got it down to 45, but coming up to it, it's still 55. So I have concerns about access, and I'd be interested to hear what PennDOT has to say about it. But access for those two lower lots onto Route 45.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a concern to me, and I would want to see the traffic studies and all that before I give final approval on the plan.
Yeah, and you can tell from our review comments that the traffic study, the scope of the traffic study is yet to be determined. And we also asked to have the developer provide a copy of the highway occupancy permit from PennDOT that's approving the access or accesses out onto Shingletown Road. It's entirely possible that PennDOT could say they have to have a shared access here rather than two separate driveways, but that's going to be entirely up to PennDOT.
Yeah, like I said, I have concerns about adding traffic onto that section of road, even though it's only two, but I think that that's something we would need to have. We would have to have some assurances there, but it does worry me there.
It's a fairly straight speed
Yes,
inducing area.
yeah. Because I'm sure it's marked 45, but I'm sure they go faster.
Yeah, and the township traffic engineer will review anything that's submitted to, see if he concurs with the finding.
Does that area have mail delivery, or do they go to the post office?
I think they probably have delivery, but I'm not sure.
And
I'm not sure too many have direct access onto 45.
But
Right.
mail delivery would count in the number of vehicles
Yeah.
using that area.
Yeah, I think the ITE manual says that a single family dwelling is typically about 10 trips per day,
Yeah.
and that's in and out. So for those two, that would be 20 trips
Mhm.
basically.
Which is a pretty good increase.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, that section's pretty dangerous right now, and it's kind of right at the, the point, and is this going to just throw it over the top, so to speak? That's
It may, and the traffic study might determine that. It might also show that, that's a pretty busy highway, and adding two more lots might be like throwing one more suitcase on to Queen Mary. Might not
Exactly,
make any
that's what I mean,
difference
yeah.
whatsoever.
Yep. Well, true.
There's also an interesting mistake on the letter to you from Jerry, paragraph 13, Walker Township.
No, that's not his letter. That was a part of the agreement that was submitted. That's being changed.
Okay,
It's just a draft.
okay.
Certainly,
Caught my attention, so, okay.
All right. Any more discussion on the motion? Bruce, do you have anything? Okay. Well, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And a wave from Bruce will do. All right. It's unanimous. All right. Now, next, request to update swimming pool regulations.
On September 27th of this year, staff received from two township residents a written request to amend the zoning ordinance related to the standards applicable to swimming pools. The current regulations require the walls of above-ground swimming pools to be at least 4 feet high, or in the alternative, a fence of at least 4 feet in height must surround the pool. In-ground swimming pools simply require a fence of at least 4 feet in height to surround the pools. Gates in the fences must be self-latching and lockable, and gaps in such may not exceed 6 inches. According to the request, the Center Region Code Administration changed the regulations pertaining to swimming pool fencing for building permits in 2015 to allow automatic swimming pool covers complying with ASTM F1346-91 to be substituted for fencing when in-ground pools are proposed. The emails from the residents, which is included with the agenda, further describes the request. Staff contacted CRCA for information about the pool cover regulations. Tiffany Baker responded with information that the change was made in the building code in 2015, and that the State College Borough, Ferguson Township, and Half Moon Township allow for safety covers in lieu of fencing. She further offered that College Township requires fences but makes exceptions for covers. CRCA verifies code compliance. Additionally, Patton Township and Bellefonte Borough require fences regardless of whether an automatic cover is proposed, according to Ms. Baker, which is the current situation in Harris Township. This is a discussion item tonight. If the board feels the request has merit, the request can be forwarded to the Planning Commission for review and comment.
I have one comment, and that is, a fence is more or less going to be there. It's kind of a passive protection if you have an automatic shutting gate that shuts. And it's, the pool covering requires someone to actively make a decision to push a button to cover the pool. So to me, I'm not sure that provides the same level of safety.
Some ladies
I
are,
was one of those residents.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to do your discussion.
Please come up
Okay.
to the microphone and
Yeah.
introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Janet McCracken, and I was one of the residents that submitted this request and thought of that very question because we have grandchildren who will be playing in this pool, and we wanted to make sure it was safe, and learned about the option not to have a fence from State College when we were going through getting our building permit. And what they said made the difference for them in adopting this was they said they've seen so many fences that are automatically closed, but people prop them open with a chair or a ball or something like that. And he said there's a margin of error whatever you do. And he said we felt comfortable with these specified approved covers that they're going to be as safe as a fence would be because, you know, you're going to turn it off. You're not going to leave a child out there when it's on when you're not around. And the fence could also be left propped open, is what they said.
could you guarantee me that nobody that has a pool like that will ever not let a child out there without the cover on?
I mean, you mean in all of Harris Township?
No, in the whole township.
Yeah. No, I couldn't make that kind of.
That's the crux. We've already
Yeah.
We've already had one death years ago of an infant going into a above ground or in-ground pool.
Mm-hmm.
That happened many years ago.
With a fence.
With a fence and
Yeah.
without a fence. They just went in, and that's when some of this started happening.
Huh.
So we have had that in the township before.
Yeah. I couldn't ever make that kind of guarantee.
See, I stumped Nigel.
No. Well,
But I think that's the crux of it. I mean, how comfortable do we feel that you know the cover? I'm sure is one. It's on and in and on. I'm sure it's safe, but it brings to Bruce's point. Who's going to push the button? You know, everybody's out swimming, and then you run in to have dinner or whatever, and you know somebody says, "Well, we'll be coming back out. We won't put the cover on," and you go out, and the next thing you know, you get somebody floating in the pool. So I do have some reservations on it. I need to have some more thought process on it, and I don't know if we want to send it till we have a chance to really get some research from our people.
From the planning commission, yeah.
Yeah, and get the planning commission to take a look and really get some good feedback on this. Because like I said, I have my and I've had a pool for 40 years. So I'm not an anti-pool person.
Right.
So.
Right, yeah. I mean, I appreciate your consideration.
well, it's interesting that Center Region Code has approved these things, and they have to be
Right.
acceptable to statewide building codes.
Yeah.
So there's some statistics behind this, and
It comes down to me of how confident are we that everybody will make sure their cover is on and secured when nobody's there, you know, nobody's looking at the pool. How are we going to make sure that happens? You know, in my case, I lock that ladder just the minute I get out that ladder, everything gets locked up. So I make sure when people they get out, we might go back in. Well, we'll unlock it if you go back in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think they would argue the same is true for the.
Bruce has something.
Propping open an automatic gate is a conscious decision. Failing to press the button to cover the pool is an unconscious decision.
good point.
Yeah,
I'd like some more statistics.
I could certainly help find some of those if that would be helpful, because the international code has approved it, the national code, State College, Ferguson, Half Moon. So it's not without
Discussion.
Yeah.
Did you see what that said? I retired center. I understand the code.
think.
And it has nothing, I'm not saying that part, it's a whole other thing. And how some codes get made.
I would prefer the discussion with the planning commission, move it to the planning commission, let them
Okay.
deal with it. Make sure you send this to the planning commission.
Okay, so send the same thing.
Yes, I would
think
think
so.
so. Or
Do you wanna
any enhancement you have of this, sure.
Okay.
You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that the agenda item be moved to the planning commission for discussion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any more comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Did I hear Bruce or see Bruce? No.
He's up there somewhere.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't see, you weren't in the picture.
It's
just
coming
then,
from
so-
Spain, give him time.
Yeah, I know. Okay, sign ordinance requests from the public.
The sign regulations were amended by ordinance number 365 in June of this year. Among the changes to the ordinance was the establishment of the personal message sign that is allowed permit-free in any zoning district so long as it is not bigger than 5 square feet in area, is on private property, and does not contain any commercial advertisement. A maximum of 3 personal message signs are allowed per property. As it is now election season, many properties have displayed more than 3 personal message signs, most of them within the street rights-of-way. Upon receiving complaints about such signs, staff has contacted property owners to make them aware of the regulations applicable to personal message signs. Everyone staff has contacted has communicated that they believe a maximum number of 3 personal message signs is inadequate when such signs are meant to support political candidates. It is not unusual for residents to support more than 3 candidates, especially with so many races being contested in local, state, and federal levels of government. Additionally, staff has received some concern that the 5 square foot size limit is prohibited, particularly for larger properties and for those properties adjacent to streets with considerable street rights-of-way widths. Staff is aware that other sign ordinances across the state have regulations that permit a higher number of personal message signs, with some having no limit on the number. Similarly, other regulations reviewed have allowed personal message signs of varying size. Some regulations allow only smaller personal message signs, and some allow larger ones. The regulations Harris Township ultimately adopted were a result of lengthy discussions about both personal message sign numbers and sign areas. This is a discussion items. The residents staff has communicated with regarding these issues, would like the Board of Supervisors to reconsider the number of personal message signs allowed for the per property and the allowable maximum size of personal message signs.
Oh, you're looking at me, oh.
I'm just
gee,
looking both
okay.
ways here.
No, I can talk.
Look
I
at the screen,
have no
yeah.
problem. Well, 2 things. Number one, and I want to clarify, when we did this, I was under the impression that in the right-of-way, no signs because of what the Supreme Court said. On your property, yes, you could have signs, but we had regulations on those signs. Am I correct that way? Now, as far as the size goes, I'll throw that one because I had to deal with that in College Township for years. I was a manager of a lumberyard, and I could have a 4x8 sign, and that was it. And I tried every way in the world to make it bigger, and they said 4x8. So size-wise, whatever we have, you're gonna have to do a lot of lobbying to get me to move it above 5 square feet. I'm happy with that. As far as the number goes, you put them on your personal property. You want to put 1,000 of them out there? I don't care. It's going to make your property look ugly. You want to make your property look ugly? I don't have a problem with that.
Can you give some public comment?
Yeah, I didn't know if Denny, did you have anything before?
No, you pretty well reflected what I was thinking, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
The personal property.
Yeah, you're welcome to
issue.
come up and just come up and put your name, say who your name is, and say what your process is.
I'm Daniel Kunzelman. I'm just here on behalf of the Center County Republican Committee. I was just stepping in last minute. I wasn't supposed to be the first person to talk to you tonight, but I'm just here to deliver a letter on, like I said, behalf of the Center County Republican Committee, every Republican candidate on the ballot, and to be quite frank, I think it benefits every Democrat candidate on the ballot as well. It's a letter from the General Counsel of the Pennsylvania Republican Party stating that any limitation on political speech on private property is a limitation on the First Amendment and inherently unconstitutional. I just can think off the top of my head, there's 8 positions on the ballot this cycle, running from president down to U.S. Senate to state treasurer, state auditor general, state attorney general. Then you got your congressman, then you got your state senator, and then your state representative. I don't see how 3 signs is adequate enough to show your support for the people that you want to vote for. And that's also kind of what this letter is getting at. And it cites several different previous court cases all the way up to the Supreme Court why this is a violation of the First Amendment. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
My initial thinking was one sign per position. So in that case, you listed 7 or 8 positions that are on the ballot. That would be 7 or 8 signs.
And by the way, do you know why we amended this sign ordinance?
No.
Because of a Supreme Court decision.
Well,
It came down to, we had 2 choices. We could either say no signs, or do what we did here, or we had to let everything in. So you had to let any derogatory sign, any nasty thing, anything could be put out.
First Amendment.
Well,
Was that
to be
First
fair,
Amendment? Yes.
I believe that was me, I Shogor, but I don't see how any limitations, regardless of the vulgarity. I understand you don't necessarily want it, but that's also like a personal morality question of you just regulate your own speech. I don't see how it's a township, a state, a community, even the federal government's place to tell somebody what they can put on it.
The Supreme Court building is down in Washington. That's where you need to go to make that argument.
Well,
I
the General Counsel of the Pennsylvania Republican Party will be taking it to the Middle District Court of
Very good.
Pennsylvania.
I can tell you that, yes, we received a letter from the Republican, people representing the Republican Party attorneys, and our attorney has responded. Our sign ordinance was crafted and checked by our attorney to ensure that it did not violate any political speech, because it treats all signs as equal, political or not, personal belief, political. So that's why we had.
But you only make Republicans take their signs down.
No, that's not what's happening. So I assure you it will be, if we enforce, when we enforce, we'll enforce it across the board. And I can tell you now, some of the people that were contacted, a few of them were posting Democrat signs and disappointed with the number they could have. So that's not happening. Anyway, any other people that want to come speak?
Nigel, while he's walking up to the podium, could you ask anybody who wishes to speak to identify themselves, even if they're on Zoom?
Yeah.
I don't know who iPhone number 3 is for the minutes. I don't know who that is.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Christian Horn, Harris Township.
Even if the bike up, it doesn't need.
Yeah, it comes up. Unless you want here, just take a chair, sit down if you want. However you want to do it.
It'll probably pick up anyway.
We do a lot more than I want.
You could probably put the chair over there, it'd be easier.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a chair here, it's empty. You're welcome.
There, is that better?
Yeah, you're good.
I feel like Beyonce or something, like singing at a concert. Yeah, Christian Horn, Harris Township resident. Wanted to come talk tonight. Appreciate all of you and what you do. Appreciate the context behind when this ordinance was updated back in June. Personally, agree with what was said here tonight. I think, both sides should have the ability to freely advocate for their political candidates, whether that's 1, 8, 10, however that is. I think that personally, the ordinance and how it was written, looping this in, I hear what you're saying about the personal messages, but looping this into the same category as yard sale signs or other personal messages maybe was not the best way to do it. I think that updating this to be in a more of its own category, especially with elections, would provide more protection for the township. I've seen other townships in my research do, day limits where political signs can only be up so many days before the election, must be taken down so many days after. But then you can have what you want up there. That's our First Amendment. That's why we're here. I think when you start to target signs and how big they are or how many you can have, at what point do we, I know this is extreme, but at what point do we start to say like, hey, your American flag is too big? That's got to go down to a 5 foot square, so I think, I know you mentioned go to the Supreme Court down in Washington. You guys are our regulatory board here. You make the ordinance, you can change it. I don't think you want to be in a position where you're making a decision, and you should just allow Harris Township residents to advocate for their political candidates, whether that's 1 sign, 8 signs, however many, however big. It's an election. It's a very important part. That's what I teach my kids, freedom of speech and being able to do that. So appreciate the time.
I will say that when we debated this, it was brought up. I think we sent it to the attorney several times of, could we do political signs only? We sent it down a couple times like that, and every time it came back, no, it's all or none. And I remember that, because I think, Mark, we sent it down like at least twice, I'm thinking.
Yeah, it was something we definitely asked for clarification on, because we had to make our ordinances not content-based, so we couldn't call out content in the ordinance specifically.
And as far as changing, I don't think any of us, I think we could revisit the quantity of signs. I think we could revisit that. But as far as, I don't know why, 5 square feet I think is plenty, so we can go from there.
We had a day limitation, did we?
We do have, I think it's 30 days before and 7 days after.
In the old ordinance we did, with them now being personal message signs, we don't have any such.
We talked about.
Hello, thank you for your time. Skip Huber. I have the property at Bear Meadows Road and 322. I have my signs on my property, and they're up high enough but far enough away from the road that a 5 square foot sign would barely be seen by the traffic. Now, if you want me to facilitate your 5 square feet, that's 720 square inches. If you want that and you want to nitpick, I'll do that. But then that would mean that I can have my 2 signs 720 square inches, which would be 1 foot by 5 foot on the one, which would be Trump, and the other would be 3.5 feet by 16 inches, which would be another 720, or 18 inches, be another 720 square inches for my Trump Vance sign. Now, if that's the case, how do you want me to designate or delineate that sign? Because it's up there right now. It's 4 foot by 8 foot, and the other's 4 foot by 4 foot. So you tell me how, and I'll do it. But those signs will still be up.
I don't, you mean to get them down to 5, you want us to tell you how to get them down to 5 square feet?
Yeah, you tell me, because I want to know, I don't want a problem, so I want to make those signs so that if you want me to take, I don't know, plywood or something to mark it off, to frame it, so it's only, 5 square feet, I'll do so. But I want those signs up.
I'm not an engineer, but,
Yeah, we can't give you an answer to that at this point in time.
I think this is why you don't want to be involved in this. You don't want to be making these decisions. You don't want residents calling you and saying, hey, my neighbor has 5 signs up. Hey, my neighbor has a 4 foot by 8 sign.
Okay, so if you want to keep going, you'd have to come back up to the microphone.
Todd, are you getting any calls right now on this?
Yeah, all the communications I've had with property owners or people that have put up signs were the direct result of people complaining. I've probably spoken to about 10 people so far who've complained about signs.
Yeah, and I'll repeat it here. I think this is why you guys don't want to be involved in this. You don't want us as residents calling you, complaining, tattling on our neighbors. That's not a good use of your time. It's not a good use of our taxpayer dollars. We buy property in Harris Township. We pay our taxes. We're asking to be able to show support for the political candidates that we want to vote for as Americans. And so having no restrictions is, I think, what we're asking for in order to do that, so that you guys don't have to constantly do this, or else you will be getting calls. And I just don't think that, especially in this election where we're trying to foster community and rebuilding, it's only going to create more divisiveness and dissent amongst neighbors in Harris Township, because it will get into finger pointing, and it will get into, hey, if you're making that person take that sign down, make that person take that sign down, and you'll be getting calls all day long from both sides doing that.
I think at this point, I think when you write letters out, people are complying on their own.
We've had a couple that complied. We've had a couple that are waiting for, to find out what was discussed at this meeting to determine if they're going to change what they currently have in place. We've had at least one person say if the conversation tonight doesn't go in their favor, they will consider changing their signs.
That's a personal property.
Yes. Yeah, we're not talking about signs within a street right away anywhere. Those are prohibited, period. And the majority of the signs that are out now are within street rights of way.
My only request is that you consider allowing the number of signs as per the number of positions on the ballot. That's my only.
You mean my
Yeah,
my
what you
suggestion.
mentioned to me earlier is like,
That to me makes sense.
Well, that in itself is problematic, because you're
Yeah.
automatically saying that it's a campaign sign, and our ordinance is content neutral. So we can't say that you can have so many campaign signs. They all have to be personal message signs, regardless of what they say.
And I'm more or less asking you to go back and revisit moving that out of the personal message. I think when that was done, moving it into the personal message is creating a lot of this conflict. So if you want to have an ordinance speaking to political signs, put a sub-bullet in there that speaks.
I think that's what I just addressed. We've been told by our attorney that we can't have a section specifically for political signs, because that violates the basic tenets of the Gilbert decision that started all this at the Supreme Court. The Gilbert decision, our understanding of the Gilbert decision, how it's explained to us was, it was not a decision about political signs. It was a decision about content of signs, regardless of whether it was a political message or not. In that Gilbert situation, it just happened to be political signs, but the decision is more far-reaching than just political signs. It's about content on signs, period.
so it's about controlling what private citizens do on private property that they purchased and then continue to pay property tax on.
We have an entire ordinance, zoning subdivision, several chapters that do exactly that. When you get in a vehicle and have to put on a seatbelt, that's exactly the same thing.
It
We're a
might
nation
be,
of
but
law.
I think we fought a revolution in 1776 about being able to protest and display our speech in the way we want, specifically after the Stamp Act, when they were regulating speech. But I'll leave it at that. I mean,
Well, I will answer that, and I can answer all that. And to somebody who said, let's have unlimited signs and all that, well, keep this in mind. Whether it's a speed limit, or you can make the same argument, I want to have unlimited speed limits, even though they're posted at 55, and I want to go 70, that doesn't give me the right to go 70 and come in and say, change the law and make it 70. Same thing. I mean, we're open to going back and trying to maybe increase the number of signs. But, again, 5 square feet, we have a small community. We have a community. We don't want banners all over the place and looking like North Atherton Street. If we wanted to look like North Atherton Street, we would develop this and put shopping malls all over the place, which I don't think anybody in Harris Township wants. So there's reasons why we have these things. And we need to maintain the way Harris Township is. And I think that right now, and I'm going to ask Todd, but I don't think we can, because of how close it is to the election. I don't think we can say, oh, we'll just let it go to the election, to just let them put 10 in from now to the election. I don't know that we can do that. Can we relax the ordinance for 3 weeks or 4 weeks? I don't know that.
I think if the board is interested in sending this back to the planning commission for, further review and consideration, we certainly could at the board's direction, hold off on enforcing on any personal message signs on private property until this issue is resolved. I mean, certainly the planning commission will have to look at it, make any decisions about what they might want to recommend to the board. There might be other things too in the sign ordinance that we might also recommend that aren't related to personal message signs that we've, recognized after having the ordinance adopted. There's a few other things that maybe we didn't address about other types of signage that might get included too. So bottom line would be is at least until that ordinance comes back to the board and then make a decision on it, we could hold off on enforcing on the personal message signs on private property until that's resolved.
Bruce, I'd like to hear, Bruce, I haven't heard it. What do you think on this?
Well, I wish we would take the political aspect out of this, because this is, again, it's following the Supreme Court decision. This is not about politics. To me, it's not about who you're supporting or not supporting. It's about, one, the number of signs, and obviously there are some people that object to, whether they object because of the political content or not, I don't know. We've had people calling in complaining about too many signs. We've had people calling in that they want to put up as many signs as they want. So I'm quite happy to look at the number of signs. Political content aside. The other aspect of it is the size of the signs. And understand that if you have a large piece of property and you're far off the right of way, having a larger sign makes sense. I don't know, Todd, maybe you can address this, but here's my thing. A large sign, let's say in the village, on somebody's property, a large sign near an intersection interferes with sight distance for people making turns. And that's a public safety issue, and that one concerns me. If we could craft an ordinance that says that if it was a certain setback, it was allowed to be larger. I don't know if we could do that. It strikes me as being complicated, but I do worry about large signs on that obstruct the vision of drivers, because that's a public safety issue. So how we address that, I don't know, but that really worries me. As far as the number of signs, I'm willing to revisit that. I've seen places where people have, 25, 30 signs that have driven around the counties. Personally, I think that's ridiculous. But, so obviously we have people that object to 3 signs, or more than 3 signs. So the number I'm willing to debate. The signage issue, I don't know, Todd, would it be feasible to do that kind of thing? Larger, further away?
Yeah, I think that's something that you can ask the planning commission to consider. I'm not sure how we would do that. I mean, I don't know if we would have to discuss, the size of a particular property that would qualify for a larger sign, or the width of a right-of-way that would make, smaller signs ineffectual. I don't know the best way to do that, if there is a way to do that. I have to say that in all of our research that we did for a long time, I don't think I ran across any ordinances that specifically address that. Certainly it's something you can ask the planning commission to look into, but I don't have any ideas right offhand of how to do that.
But Todd, don't we already have regulations related to clear vision around the intersection, though? I think Bruce brought that up as well, about intersections and blocking for safety purposes.
Yeah, generally, the ordinance, not the signed ordinance, but our ordinances in general, say that there's at intersections, there's a sight distance triangle. If you go to the apex of where the 2 streets intersect, draw a line back along both streets and then connect those and form that triangle, the distance is 25 feet from the apex. So anything within that 25 feet of the apex is not supposed to be in the intersection. So if something is placed in the intersection that impedes the vision for drivers or pedestrians, the township has every right to remove it.
I'm much further away than that.
Yeah, and in Skip's case, he is. I think what Bruce was talking about, intersections in general, particularly in places like the village.
And this whole conversation is moot in 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
Well, it's moot for this election, but it's not moot.
They happen every year. So, let me do a motion here, because I think I understand. I'll make a motion that we send this back to the planning commission to look at both the number of signs and the size of signs depending on how far they are away from the right of way, or, you know, the land, how big the land is. And that we suspend enforcement till all that comes back from the planning commission. Is that what I want to say?
Well, I would think suspend enforcement of the personal message portion of
That's
the
that's what I wanna
ordinance,
say.
not the whole ordinance, because we have other signs
That's what I want to say.
that get put up all the time. So.
That's the one I want.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
we need
Wait,
a,
we're not done
We
yet.
haven't passed it yet, we just got a motion.
We got one motion. We gotta get a second.
I'm just saying, thank you for getting the motion.
Yeah, okay.
I'm in favor of that.
Well, we made the motion.
Now we need a second.
Second.
Oh, we got a second from Italy.
okay.
Oh, this lady wants to say something? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Debbie Lintel, and you were talking about signs, and when we come from Mountain View and we're coming down on 45, their sign is in the way. Like, you cannot see the road. You can't see cars coming unless you edge it out.
When you say you come down from Mountain View, you're taking a left?
Taking a left.
I don't.
The country club?
The country, yes, if you're coming down on 45.
Coming down, okay.
Okay, and you look, you're trying to see traffic going, coming from the right.
Oh, okay, okay. You're turning right then at the intersection.
Yeah,
Okay, I know where you are.
and that is a sign, I know it's their sign, but it's a sign that really is in the way.
And they have two signs. They have another one, probably 100 feet.
Yeah, but the one
Whatever direction that is,
closest,
yeah.
it is dangerous.
Yeah.
That's a
And
point.
so-
It's not really related because that's a commercial sign.
right,
but-
but should that be
Get
of
out
the
office
same
for 5
value?
minutes.
Look into that.
Oh, no, I've been asked in the past to look at those signs specifically, and if you're sitting at the intersection where you're the next person to go left or right, you can see both directions.
Is that the actual Mountain View sign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I come out of there all the time. I never.
And the other one is for the view, isn't it? The restaurant
That's
sign?
Yeah.
Oh, I
well,
never.
again, this is,
Okay.
let's,
All right.
let's not get off topic, but
Thank you.
But
Thank
so
you.
we have a motion and a second.
Did we vote on that, right?
Yeah, what?
Did we vote on
Not
that?
yet. So all in favor of that motion that Frank made? Basically suspending, sending this to the planning commission for a relook and suspending enforcement until we get an answer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nigel, could I add that that's for signs on private property?
Yeah.
That the enforcement would still be in place for signs in public property and within street rights of way.
Yes.
Yes, that's just for private property.
Okay.
I mean, the ordinance addresses, well, whatever. Okay,
Personal message.
I think we're good. All right, 2025 COG summary budget comments.
I saw her come in. Where's she at? I saw her come in. Wait, you wait. See, I brought a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break here while people exit, because obviously people are leaving for this time. Go ahead.
Welcome to Harris Township. It's fun.
Let's see, do you want to introduce anything first, Ben?
Yeah, I just have a couple things to say. First off, I am Ben Estelle, the new Executive Director for the COG. It's very nice to be here and see everybody. And I know I still have not yet met everybody, but hopefully we'll get to that soon. So we are pleased to present the summary budget, and we'll be taking questions tonight. Being that I've only been here for a couple months now, I don't know how things had been done in the past, so we don't have any big formal presentation to make to you. We've already gone through more than 8 hours of budget hearings, which are all on CNET and available to you. The summary budgets were distributed weeks ago for everyone to review. So if you really want to dig super deep into things, there are plenty of opportunities there to do that. But we will answer whatever questions we can. The couple points items I wanted to point out is that we are looking at a 5.64% overall increase to the COG budget. That is above the original percentage that we were charged with, but that is actually lower once that formula is recalculated with the new health insurance number that we were provided. So the estimate was 19.9% that we were given for health insurance, which would have pushed the COG budget over 6%. For our target number, we came in at 5.64, even after all of the additional items from the menu. Another item that I want to call out to everybody is the extensive use of fund balance in this budget. Many of our funds are using their fund balance, sometimes depleting it completely for this. This is not, for the most part, funds are not being used for one-time expenses. They are being used for continuous expenses. The COG admin budget in particular uses the remaining $92,000 of the fund balance. Those are not one-time costs. Those are repeating costs, and so that will mean that there will be higher increases expected in those areas in following years to make up for that use of fund balance. It was a conscious decision that was made and discussed with finance that we know that our municipalities have seen a couple years of very high increases, and in order to mitigate that where we could use the fund balance, we did. We will also be working on fund balance policies for each of our funds in order to help dictate how these are used in the future. There is no one kind of formula that is going to work for all of our funds. They are all pretty different from one another, just like you have your operating and capital budgets, which you would treat differently in how you keep a reserve there. We are also dealing with agencies that collect a variety of revenues. So the library in particular has state and federal county dollars in it. Those all create additional vulnerabilities due to federal stoppages, state stoppages, and the county budget itself on what monies come into that account. For the code department, which has one of our largest budgets, their fund balance is built up from projects that have had permits taken out for but have not yet gone into effect, and so the inspections have not yet happened. So they are projecting forward with those funds based off of projects that already have submitted for permits. One of the other changes we will be looking at is moving to a 5-year outlook on the budgets. Hopefully this is the last year that we only look 1 year into the future when we try to do these. That does not mean that we're going to ask our communities to pass 5 years worth of budgets at one time. Instead, what we want to do is be able to show the longer term effects of decisions that get made. There's been significant investment into the regional park system in recent years, and with those large one-time expenses come continuous additional expenses for the maintenance and operation of those parks. But you don't see those costs in a 1-year budget. Those are things that only show up down the road. So we want to start looking 5 years down the road so that when a decision is made you can start to see the longer term effects of those decisions. The other big change kind of that we will be pushing now and in my time here is that the COG is a service agency. We are here to serve our communities. One of my first instructions to the agency directors was that when we came to the budget process, they were not to try to sell anything to our member communities. The requests that were on the menu item are items that help us meet the requests that we have received from our communities. We are not, the COG and its employees are not asking for these things, and we are not trying to sell you more than what you have asked for. These were requests made from the COG, and we are providing the cost to provide those services to our communities. And moving forward, we are not going to be selling anything to our members. We are not going to come with asks, as they sometimes were called in the past. The COG had been asked to look at different services, and we will provide those prices. Now that can come in a number of forms. Jim here has a number of pieces of equipment that he's in charge of, and he is being asked to maintain all of our parks at an acceptable level. And because of that ask, he then has to price out a number of vehicles in order to maintain those parks. However, this all stems from the requests of the COG to provide the services, and we will continue to operate that way.
And those kinds of expendable equipment failures are tough to anticipate, I think.
Yeah, it can be.
And they're getting more expensive all the time.
They are definitely getting more expensive all the time.
Yeah.
And if you have looked at our fire budgets and the costs of fire equipment in recent years, the last engine that I ordered in my last community, I think cost me $680,000. They won't receive it until sometime in 2026. That same truck, if you tried to purchase it today, is worth over $1 million.
And Shaw just bought one for $985,000.
Yes.
Ordered 2 years ago, so.
And that is, it's not unique to the fire service. Equipment across the board has become more expensive, but we will do our best to meet the needs and keep those costs as low as possible. I'm joined by Kim from finance, as well as our park staff, which was requested, and we are happy to answer whatever questions you have for us.
Did you ask for park? Oh, no, I'm going last.
I was going to hit
You're going last.
I'm going last.
With Frank being a
I
finance.
thought you could ask all the questions.
Okay, well, I'll go first then.
We don't have to ask any.
Okay, I'll go first. Kim, you're up first. Well, it's not, I just have a question and clarification. When we did the final finance meeting, I think we were at 804 was our increase, I believe, 804,000.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And we had a couple items, and the one was the furniture or the flooring for the kids area in the library. They said they were taking that 32,000 out.
Yes.
And I looked at on the summary budget, and I didn't see a drop in that capital expenditure. It's still at that 179 whatever. Did that 32 not come out, or they reallocate it? What's going on there?
Okay, so the way that we manage these changes, the budget that you are looking at that was distributed as the summary budget is not amended with any of these other conversations that we've had. Okay. Although some of those changes, if the library hasn't been impacted, that was one of the ones that we didn't make a change to yet. So collectively, all of you are coming back to us with your recommendations, things that you want or don't want. What we do after we get the comments, this goes to the Finance Committee on the 24th of October. At which time some of these final amendments are agreed to, and then I go back and I revise the entire budget for the general forum. Okay. So right now, for example, the 19.9% that was the initial number for the increase in our medical has actually shifted down just a couple of points. You are not seeing any of those changes in the budget. So some of these bigger ticket items that we agreed to put into the budget will be part of the final product that you'll see next week.
Okay, the other one was the parking lot repair. And I know that there was talk about code picking up some of that. And I have no problem, but then I started thinking about it. And I looked at all those, 22, 24 cars. Code's tearing up the parking lot, so I think Code should pick up the whole 130. I don't think they should pick up 50 or 60. You just go tell Walt to get his checkbook out and write up 130. If they want to do the parking lot, do the whole thing, because it's his cars that are tearing it up. That's a comment.
Okay.
And that's probably
What's
for
my
him too.
action
So
item
he
on
can
that?
go talk with Walt.
I can confirm that I signed the paperwork at the end of last week to dispose of, I believe it was 8 vehicles, and they are leaving this week.
Okay.
Now that is, I think, 5 or 6 from our lot. And yeah, so 5 from our lot and 3
That
from.
still leaves 130 to pave. Yeah, so anyway,
So you're prorating the repair based upon who owns what?
most cars.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
And there's also a little motorcycle included in the parking lot thing.
And
It's technically not a motorcycle.
Well,
That's a very important distinction. It is a scooter. It's only 49 cc's. You have to be 50 cc's to be a motorcycle.
Okay, the other thing that I wanted to comment on was, and I made this comment at the MPO meeting the other night, was the Benner Pike Quarter Study. Now, it went through the Finance Committee, it went through, and my last ditch effort was tell Benner to put some money in, just get some skin in the game, but I don't know if that, but the comment I made that I think we need to start being aware of is that I told the MPO that COG is not a funding source for the county to fix roads where they don't have to participate, and we're funding the roads throughout the county. Because that's what I see there. Because Benner has nothing in that. They're getting the study, they're getting the benefits, and they're asking COG to be a funding source for $7,605. Is technically what's going on there. So that's a comment, but I wanted to get that out. The other part, I was pretty happy where we came out. We had a lot of talk back and forth, and I was happy with the budget. The only 2 things I will say, and that does concern me, that we're using up fund balances on one side. But on the other side, the total fund balance for COG is $9.9 million. And I understand Code, but he likes to keep stuff in his back pocket. So that argument doesn't go far with me. But I think if we're going to do a fund balance, that fund balance ought to be a way for that 9.6 to be used. The rich should help the poor, in the agencies. There should be some way, and I know now every time we try to do it, it becomes a loan, and I don't know legally what you can do, but I think when we look at that fund balance, we need to look at how can we take areas that need the help and move that fund balance around. The ones that are generating fund balances versus the ones that do it. But that's the only other comment I have. And the final comment I have is, and I know we used all the fund balances, we're already here, wait till next year, it's gonna be higher. Well, I got a message for you for next year. Start right now, and by next year, when you come out for the budget, you be revenue-based. I don't want to see expenditure-based budgets anymore. I want to see revenue-based. That, okay, we're going to increase revenue to COG by this much, and then that's the way your agencies make their decisions. And as far as, I beat up on Park and Rec a lot this year, but what I would like, as I look through all the programs, especially the programs, and I think there's some programs that warrant subsidies, that we should subsidize, that are good programs that will never fund themselves. And there's other ones that could be enterprise programs. I think instead of just having a program category, I think we should split it out into that. Revenues or whatever, expenditures, that the ones that we can make enterprise, that can sustain themselves, have that category so we can look at that. But if there's one there that we need to subsidize because maybe it's a handicap thing, that there's not a lot of handicapped people in that particular program, and it's worthwhile to the community, that we would say, hey, as a community, we would subsidize that. And I think you'd find us voting for things like that we would subsidize those programs that are meaningful. So I'd like to see maybe that get for you guys, get that broken out, so that when we do this, it's not the programs are bad. Here's what we want, here's the enterprise, they're doing good with the enterprise, here's the ones we need to subsidize. I think that those type of things, I think, is what we would like to see. I'll let my colleagues go from there. But that's kind of what I went through and looked at. And like I said, I was pretty pleased. I mean, it was rough at first, but I think we hashed it out and got it taken care of. But I would like to I think I would like to see that going forward.
So two things. One, I put together a list of a lot of the comments that came out of the Finance Committee review. And that list, which includes things like Benner Pike, any open item that the committee requested we either look into further or be prepared to deliver some research, that is going to be part of the agenda on October 24, and we'll do a final pass on that. And then just a word on the fund balances. We've come up with a sort of a strategic approach to looking at each of the individual fund balances, because some of our programs and our agencies are so diverse and they have different revenue is not a bad word. They have different revenue streams. They have different ways to build their fund balance. And I think the first step that we want to do is look at all of them individually and what are the nuances for each of them that would require a certain level of fund balance to stick. And then some of them might have a little bit more flexibility. Once we have that information, it'll be much easier to address your concern. Can there be any sort of cross-pollination with maybe the haves and the have-nots? But we do have a plan. I'll talk about that a little more when we get to our meeting next week. But that is a very high priority for me, going into 2025.
Well, and one other thing, facilities director, did we get a yes?
Facilities administrator.
Administrator, okay, whatever.
We'll start on Monday.
Good.
Ah,
was it the first choice?
Yes.
Good. And I think that's going to be a key factor with your fund balances and stuff. Once he gets there and starts getting a handle on this, is how much we need for fund appreciation and all that. And oh, by the way, for my colleagues, we're getting new software that will make this whole process a lot
Yeah, you're
easier.
telling me about that.
Because instead of working off Excel spreadsheets, it's the same program Dwight has for us.
Oh,
And anytime we ask Dwight for a number, boom, we get it real quick. And we get it from you, but I think it'll be much quicker once you can make it simpler, and you won't have as many late nights. You can go to rock and roll concerts again.
When you talk about the Benner Township, are you going from the Rockview property towards Bellefonte? That whole metropolitan area that's being with Dunkin' Donuts and the two hotels? And
Well, there's also they're putting a warehouse in down there that they've got.
Yeah.
It's that corridor study.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that full corridor study that will be done. And we did make note, I believe it was your comment in there that, let's see.
Thank you.
Any future items, any of those outside agencies would be expected to participate. That is in our notes from the budget hearings.
Benner Township's had some healthy building in the last couple of years. They're no longer the rural township they used to be, so they're doing quite well.
Yes.
On page 22, 2022, 23, 24, 25 totals are listed. Interestingly, 22 and 24 are both 27 million. 23 is at 30, now 25 is at 29. Does the difference between 24 and 25, is that the 6.7% increase?
For the total budgets there?
Yeah, total budget.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and a big piece of that is you have the last piece of the wage and benefit study that was class and comp study that was done goes into effect in January. But another big piece of that is the new fire program will be in place for the entire year, not just a part of the year. So while I believe they started 2 weeks ago, but next year will be the first full year. So you'll see that the fire EMS budget or fire budget is significantly higher than it had been in the past.
And you mentioned projected 5-year budgets.
Yes.
In some cases, we need to project further than that because we bought real estate.
It's true.
So maybe a 15 or 20 years spread.
With budgets, the further out you go, the less reliable they become. 5 years, in my experience, has been kind of about the max window that you can look with any type of certainty and expect your costs to be reasonable.
Except in real estate. Real estate's pretty stable if you buy a...
If you're buying.
Yeah.
I am hoping to not buy anything more anytime soon. And that we finish up the projects that we have and pay for those before we look to take on any more large projects.
What's the pay down on the Whitehall Road property? How many, is that another 10 years or so?
33, I thought. 31? I thought it was 33. I'll take 33.
Was that a 15-year mortgage? Or loan?
Well, I know the original mortgage was then reworked
A couple times.
several times. Yeah, so it takes the savings from the pool loan in a couple years that'll be paid off, and then starts to apply that to the Whitehall loan as well. So that one gets paid off faster. Plus, that got us a much lower interest rate on that loan as well. And then the COG building, I think is 27.
20, yeah.
Yeah, 27.
And then we can start looking at phase 2 of Oak Hall and Whitehall Parks.
The other 57 acres.
What?
The other 57 acres.
Yeah.
And if you want to spend the money,
That's your maintenance budget.
we will work for it.
We have a 14-year plan for Hess Field too.
Yep.
And we need to thank you for the interest in the flush toilet issue for Hess Field. That's going to be a big improvement.
I like the creative financing, by the way.
Yeah.
We'll do
So everybody knows, they put $200,000 from fund balance, and then there was another $95,000 that was originally supposed to be used for vehicles that they put off, so that they had $295,000 of the $600,000 that was needed, which cut the municipal shares down to $305.
I've already, these guys are already aware of that. I already
Great.
gave them all this.
How's the ordering process of that item doing? Are we looking for spring this year, or what?
Well, we've identified the vendor. At this point, we have to do some soil testing and put together a site plan for the park. So we have money in engineering in 2024 that we've earmarked for that portion of the project. So once we have the go-ahead for the budget, we'll be well on our way.
Put a big sign in the park where it's going to go, future site of. People are getting excited. I'm pleased with the budget overall. Yeah.
Bruce, I think Bruce is up.
All right, Bruce.
Yeah. A couple of items. One is, in terms of the code office unbalance, it would be interesting if we could break out the portion of that fund balance that is being held for completion of projects, so inspections as long-term projects get completed, and then have what the remaining fund balance is. So if we could separate the two items, that might be useful in terms of understanding that fund balance. Because certainly some of it is in there for future expenses that we know are going to come. Another item with respect to code is, seeing as they're an enterprise agency, and Parks is not, I question why Parks is paying rent at the market rate for an office, while code is riding along, and I don't know how that rate's determined in the COG building. I wonder if those two ought to be swapped. We ought to have Parks in the COG building and code going out in the open market. If they are an enterprise operation. So that's one comment, or let's say comment A and B. My other comment is, when we get to the, and Ben, I know you're new to this, so I don't mean to beat you up on this.
You're fine.
But yeah, I'm gonna beat you. No. Every year we get the initial budget document, and we get a spreadsheet asking us for our comments. And some days, some years, I just feel like, why do I bother? And I'll give you one example. This year, the parking lot, I believe 4 municipalities said, let's not pay the parking lot this year. And guess what we're going to do? So why 2/3 of the municipalities say, don't do it. Why did you pass this if you're gonna do it?
So this was put before the finance committee, and they made the choice to proceed with it. This was not something that I chose to do or that the staff chose to do.
No, it was commented in the finance committee, and again, I agree with Bruce. 4 out of 6 says let's move it down a couple of years, and it still stayed in the budget. And I don't know if that came from staff, it was before you. We got this before you, but I don't know. Kim, maybe you know how that didn't get pulled out. Who decided to keep that in? Was that one of our guys, or because I agree with Bruce. I mean, 4 out of 6 says move it down the road.
I think originally, if you recall, it was we were only going to pave the parking lot and we were going to split that with code. And at that particular juncture in the budget, it was about $65,000 split between the two. And then there was discussion about code doing the electrical vehicle installation.
Right.
And then the decision escalated to, well, if we, COG admin, take care of the parking lot, code will install the EV stations. That got a little more twisty because then it became a question of timing. If they put the EV installation in first and they tear up the parking lot, that's no big deal because we haven't finished the parking lot yet. But then if the parking lot were to be done first, now someone on the finance committee had a very good recommendation. There should be some sort of caveat that when the EV install, if there's any damage to the parking lot that's already been paid for, that be repaired. So that's how we went from a shared $65,000 cost to then sort of a split decision with these two particular projects.
Okay.
But I believe we are not tearing the parking lot up. I think the full budget amount is the worst case scenario.
Okay, well here's to answer to reinforce Bruce's question. We said put it down the road. There shouldn't even have been a 65 in there. It should have not even been in the budget because it was said let's move it down the road. I mean that whether it was split by code or how it was done, it shouldn't even have been in the budget because 4 out of 6 said that's what Bruce's point. We're making these comments and they're kind of they're being ignored. And I think that's the point to it. It's not what you did here and all the financing. It's that's the question. And I don't know how it got put back in because 4 out of 6 said take it out. Now I got accused of not being
for the future, but I can't change what was done before.
I understand, but I think that's it. But I think that's going to be one of our comments is the only way the parking lot gets paved is code pays for it 100%. We don't want it paid for by us.
And I can also check to see if that's on the list for discussion on the 24th, because I do believe that was something that was still open.
We're going to put in our comments.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that points us to a larger issue. And I'm going to pick on the parking lot. We talk sometimes about upgrading furniture, and the people are saying, well, geez, can't we get by on that furniture for a while? And I mean, my house, I got furniture, unfortunately, that's seeing its age, but it's not in the budget right now. And so, you may ask my opinion, and I'd like to see some acknowledgement that at least, rather than, yeah, well, thanks for your input, but we're going to do this.
Wasn't there an old song that had something about paving the parking lot in it years ago?
Yeah, that was what's her name?
What group
Brand
was
New
that?
Key. What's her name? Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
I know. I'd think of it in a second. Give me time. I'm old. Yeah.
Anything
Any
questions? You want to say anything?
You're up.
Here for questions if you have
Oh,
anything.
I don't have but I have a comment. It's something I spent about 20 minutes at PML last week with the vendors, and I spent with the Co-Stars guy from the state. Because, we go, well, that's to buy all this bulk. No, that is not what Co-Stars is designed for. And I reaffirmed this with him. He said, Co-Stars is so that if you have a particular need on a product and you want to specify exactly what you're going to get, that's when you use CoStars. So you sit down and you say, instead of saying we're going to buy Ford Escapes because they're on the CoStar, you can say, I want to buy, what do you want? Do you have a Tundra? You say, I want a Toyota Tundra, whatever, and you can put that out into the CoStars, and if there's a CoStars vendor, you can get it without bidding it. So it's more designed, like for example here, we could go to CoStars and say, we want Anderson Windows 400 series, blah, 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 and send it out to CoStars vendors that are Anderson dealers and get a number from them. So it's not that you have to buy from somebody that's a CoStars vendor that will sell you bulk. If you have a particular item that you want to get, a mower or a cutter that is a particular item, you put your spec sheet together, get that to a CoStars vendor, and they should give you a price on it. So that's, and all that means is you don't have to bid it. But you're specifying exactly what you want. It's not that you have to get what they're showing on the site. You can specifically get an item that you want for whatever you want to do. So that's something that you might want to look into going forward. Because I know we all just fall back on the CoStars. Oh, gee, let's just buy these, and then we're getting vehicles that don't last but 6, 7, 8 years, and now we're looking for new ones. There's vehicles out there that you can buy, and in your industry will last 15, 20 years and keep right on ticking. So that could save you a lot of money.
Okay.
Thank you for the flush toilets.
Yeah.
He doesn't even go to Hessfield.
I've been there.
Yeah, that was a big item for us, and we've been waiting a long time for that, so we appreciate it finally getting in. And I'm just gonna make that pound the pavement comment again. It's like, why? Is there $130,000 going to a parking lot that's not bad? And I mean,
I don't know.
maybe the lawyer said they had to do it.
I got told I wasn't an asphalt engineer at one meeting.
But, yeah. Other than that, I have no comment. I'm pleased that our share hasn't gone up all that much. That's because, as you may know, that the COG is by far the largest expense of our Harris Township budget. So.
It's also the greatest benefit to the greatest number of people. 29 million isn't bad when you got everything that 27 and 28 items do.
Oh, it's true. It's
a fantastic program.
If you guys work with us, we won't throw shots across the bow anymore. I mean, I don't mind throwing them once in a while, but see, guys, it gets old.
You're gonna start aiming for the body rather than the bottom?
No, if I get real nasty, I was a submariner. I'd put it right between the crosshairs.
All right. I like your idea of projecting years in advance for everything, not just the capital expenditures, the whole deal. That sounds
makes it easy.
good.
I can just make a few
Forward
adjustments the next year. Away you go. And with Kim's new software, it'll be just like super duper.
That is the hope.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. We appreciate your time and your input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Take care of your
Now,
back.
do we have to do written comments?
Yeah, I'll take, recorded
got
what
what
you
we
folks
got?
talked about. I will take out
Good.
your questions and just take the comments
Good.
themselves and send them to COG tomorrow.
Have a good day. Thanks for coming.
Excuse me. All right. Manager's report. Anything you'd like to highlight, Mark?
Yeah, just a few things. First, I'll mention that our maintenance staff have been out doing brush collection. Today was the first day they were able to get through Kaywood, Willowbrook, Hunt Ridge Manor, Aspen Heights, and Brookside. So if anybody out there hasn't put out their brush yet.
They normally hit Linden all Friday.
Okay, well, they've definitely been trying to get that done, and we'll be starting on leaf collection immediately thereafter. I did want to mention in my manager's report a few items. Number 5, about our alternate SEO stepping down to retire. We do use CRCA as our code or our sewage enforcement officers. They have more than one SEO on staff. I didn't know if the board wants to have an alternate appointed next year. If so, I'll need to start looking into who might be interested and willing to serve the township. But they do have multiple people at code that can provide a backup if somebody's busy. It's not.
I understand that. I
Yeah.
think having an alternate's a good idea, just in case. I don't know that, you know, if you can find some, I mean, if it's one of those things where you're beating your head against the wall, I guess we can defer.
Mr. Wallace did provide a list of people
Oh, okay.
to consider, so I would want to bring them in and at least interview them, talk to them a little bit, and just get an idea of their fees and what they.
Would it be a possible conflict of interest when we would have to use somebody else?
I don't
expect an issue that COG is dealing with.
I don't think it'd be a conflict of interest right now. I mean, we have a backup SEO as it is, and if they choose not to use code, they have to use our backup. So that's, I don't think it really creates
they do, okay.
Yeah, I don't really creates any type of a conflict. And there have been times where folks have wanted to use other people, and we've told them they need to have our SEO on site. If you want to have another SEO present, that's fine, but our SEO has to be there to observe the testing and right. Yeah. So I just wanted to check with you before I. Yeah.
Well, it does sound like a good idea in case anybody has an axe to grind with the CRCA for some reason and would rather have a different one.
Right.
Number 7 is interesting with the stocking of the fish.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I'm surprised about that.
Yeah,
I like number 4. I thought that's a good idea.
Yeah, the idea there had been to put lockers for people to pick up their books, but they said their experience in Half Moon was they really couldn't keep up with the demand. And Half Moon's a lot smaller than us, so the concern was where would we have that many lockers and could they keep up with it? They're still looking into it, but for now, a Dropbox seemed like a good start to give people a way to return their books so they don't have to go the whole way downtown or into Weiss.
The Weiss drop is pretty busy.
Right.
Lockers.
How you coming on the agriculture security, Penny? Is it
Meeting next Monday.
You gonna make it?
Depending on how the data is coming from the planning people.
Yeah, I think they have received all of the, they received the responses they were going to receive already because the date is passed. I think there was 2 requests to be added.
Okay.
So they need to do some analysis on that, and they'll hopefully have that for next week.
And we may have lost a couple too because of decisions of property owners or properties were split into 2 small now, so.
It's possible, yes.
Bunch of variables there, so.
The other one I did want to mention was item number 9, which is the budget review session. So, in speaking with Nigel, he was unavailable on October the 30th. So we are proposing October 23rd and November 6th. So that would be next Wednesday, which is your normal second meeting of the month, and then the first Wednesday in November. I did have it in here at 5 o'clock for both times, so we will need to re-advertise that meeting for next Wednesday if we stick with the 5 o'clock.
Is that good for you, Nigel? 5 o'clock?
I'll have to, let's see. Probably. I'm gonna have to turn down some overtime if we have it at 5.
You got more money than the law allows.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Consider us your overtime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They get paid for coming here.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's completely up to you. If you want to keep the 23rd at 7, since we already have advertised that, we won't have to re-advertise it. And then do November 6th at 5.
Why don't we do that?
But that's up to you.
I prefer it. It's
Okay.
a rush. Either way, it's a rush for me to get somewhere.
So we're doing 7 p.m. on the 23rd and 5 p.m. on the 6th. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I heard.
That's fine.
That works.
Okay.
And I'm going to endeavor to have
What
the.
about Bruce? What was that mean for you? Did you hear that, Bruce?
Yeah, I did. I'm looking right now. What time will we be meeting on the 23rd?
7 o'clock.
All right, that's another 1 a.m. for me.
Oh, you'll still be zooming in?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, I won't have video options for you at that meeting since we won't have CNET here, but we'll have audio at least.
Maybe you guys can do it without me. We'll see.
Okay. Well, we can always forward you the budget in digital form since you won't be here to pick it up.
What about November 6th, Bruce? We're back for that or Zoom too?
Oh, November Yeah, November 6th is fine.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll try my best to have the budget ready by Monday. Just a short turnaround with still trying to wait for a few numbers to come in, but I'll do my best to have it by Monday. I might even have it by the end of this week, possibly, just depending on where we stand with numbers.
I have one question on the finances. General fund, I see right now we're $770,000 roughly.
Yes.
And if I do the math quick, we've been using about that much a quarter. Does that mean we're on track to break even for the end of the year, or are we gonna eat that all up? Are we gonna have any left over?
No, general fund, actually, we, we use about a third of that. That's about every 4 months, we go through about that amount.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. 'Cause
it's
I
our-
divided 3 in there real quick.
Yeah, no, I think our, we'll definitely be okay.
Okay.
And we're gonna have more income coming in between now and the end of the year as well.
Sure.
We'll have earned income tax, real estate transfer taxes, things like that, that will be coming in. So I think we're gonna more than break even. Right now, we're projecting a pretty decent fund balance to roll forward into next
Good.
year.
Good.
So that'll be helpful.
And we got some nice real estate transfer coming in.
I hope so.
With this one and then
Okay.
another one across the street.
Last month was only, I think, $3,000 for September, so hopefully October's a little better.
Oh,
Okay,
and-
that was my question. Okay, that helps.
And we sold a lot on Lindenall Road too.
Okay, all right.
It was about 300,000.
Okay, you ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve voucher number 2024-09 for the amount of $371,416.74.
Second.
Okay. Discussion on the vouchers? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, committee reports, executive committee, everything, we did have another presentation by Cam Adams about the solar power purchasing agreement, and of course we had a subsequent one here after that, but that did not make it to the general forum last month, but everything else on the general forum agenda was a discussion, result of discussion at executive committee. Human Resources did not meet this month. Climate Action and Sustainability just met today, and their proposed revised model solid waste ordinance that has to go into effect for largely due to the new contract with a different waste hauler starting next year. And there was also discussion about waiver for the at-door service for certain people. There's a fee that if somebody wants to pay the fee, they can have that service. There's a waiver right now, a waiver system in effect for disabilities, and the proposal came up for having a waiver for age, which would be like 80 years old. If nobody in the household is under 80 years old, they'd waive their fee for at-the-door collection. But that was just discussion. It didn't really go anywhere. And that's all I have. So year 3, starting with facilities. Dennis?
We did not meet.
Okay.
Infrastructure met. We had an interesting sort of activity. We talked about some goals of the new comprehensive plan, and then looked at themes and options for implementing those in a round robin kind of thing, sitting with the 5 of us. Nice opportunity. They did the same program for the planning commission here.
Yes, they did. Yes.
And I'm not sure if it's going to come to the forum in terms of doing it, but I found it very useful to have 5 people looking at a goal. And we concentrated on agriculture, agribusiness, agriculture, crop production, and spent 2 hours working on this. We had a good time. The solar power program, I had a contact today with Scott Harford, who is with an energy program on campus. We should have talked about the opportunity for each of us to voice our concerns, our interests. with respect to where we are in that program. If we can do that in writing, Scott and I will meet and talk about how we can fit his expertise into to working with us. And he's going to take a look at the PowerPoint presentation that Pam did to see where we are. So we didn't put it on the agenda this month because we need more time to put it together. So it'll be, Mark and I will be putting together a request to my colleagues here to give some thought as to what we want to talk about with Scott. That'll happen within the next week or 10 days. That's it.
All right. Bruce, you're up for Parks Capital and other parks things.
The Parks Capital did not meet. Parks Capital meets quarterly. So we're due to meet in October. I have not heard whether or not we will be meeting. Center Region Parks Governance Committee did not meet. The thought there at that time was, let's let our new executive director get his feet under him, because it's kind of, there's some balancing act to be done there in terms of how we're going to restructure committees, particularly this proposal to have a Parks Capital Committee be replaced by a Parks Oversight Committee, and exactly what would that do and how would that relate to the Park Authority. Park Authority did not meet, but is due to meet later this week. So, pretty easy month.
All right, thanks, Bruce. And Frank.
Okay, Finance Committee, I think you guys pretty much know what happened there on the Finance Committee. State College Area Connector, nothing new since our last meeting. They had, on the public hearings, they had 27 public comments and 400 attendees. That was the 227 were online, 400 attendees at the open house with 200 comments. So they're basically moving forward, assembling all those to continue on.
There was a session at the middle school.
Yes. They had, it says that 400 attendees and 200 comments.
Any themes emerged from comments?
No, they had nothing on that.
Just all over the place.
Yeah. Right now it's getting down to, don't take it through my property, not my backyard. So we're getting a lot, running on that side of the road, not this side of the road.
They did a session for property owners earlier in the afternoon.
Yes, they did have anybody that was affected, there could be affected. They went in from 1 to 4, I think it was, where they could have one-on-one time with them and ask questions. So that was, yes, they did have that.
Did you go to that one?
No, I did not go to that one. Okay, so the last one, Center MPO. Okay, you heard some of the things. I'm getting really a little frustrated with non-members. Because if you don't know, when you see the county allocation and how much they pay to the MPO in revenue, they're paying for all the outlying areas. Yeah. And this thing with Bellefonte, Bellefonte, as big as it is, why aren't they a member?
They are?
They are not a member. They're in that area. So that's really starting to get to me, because then they come to us and they want us to fund all these things, and we end up putting money into fund. Wait a minute, we're not a funding source, So we had that. We had the update on the connector. We have a projects committee now, and it's starting to work very well. Active transportation plans being worked on. We also have the unified plan. All of them are due this year. The budget, the calendar budget was looked at. Long range transportation plans. Oh, by the way, there will be a new CATA CEO. I don't know if you guys heard that. The guy that's there now is retiring, and so they are looking to start that. Liquid fuels apps are due by October 18th. I don't know if you do that one or not, Mike.
For grant applications, yes.
Yeah, for liquid fuels, yes.
Right.
It is
We
due.
submitting one?
I don't have a project this year to submit one on, no.
So right now, we did a lot there, but I think I got everything. I'm getting really being a curmudgeon in my old age, I guess. I don't know. I really seem to be causing a lot of grief in different places.
We forgive you.
Oh, there was one other thing too. I did want to interrupt you guys' report on the solar power purchase agreement. I spent some time with Constellation at PML, And I think it would, and I know where we want to bring all these other, I think it would be interesting to bring them in and let them tell you their side of how these agreements work. Because it was enlightening of what the guy said. He wasn't derogatory about it, he wasn't against it or for it, but he pretty much said how these things work, where it comes from. And the comment that kind of got my attention was the one he said, if you're running a power cable from the solar power field to the places being used, then it works. That was all he said. He wouldn't say anything else. But and I knew that you get a lot of line losses when you're transporting power, whether it goes to the grid and goes somewhere. You get a lot of line losses. You're going to lose a lot of that 20 megawatts in transport. So, the opinion I got from him, I think it would be worth them coming and having their side of it to give us a neutral other side of the coin information.
That's sort of what we're hoping Scott can do, the same kind of neutral, objective presentation like that. What do we deal with Constellation now?
We have Dynegy. Dynegy is our
Dynegy?
Dynegy is our current electricity provider. Yeah, I think Constellation is the one that the PML has an agreement with.
Yeah, but we did Constellation, I think 1 year or 2 years.
There was times I think we did purchase from Constellation.
They bid it. So
yeah, Dynegy was the lowest price, so that's the one we went with.
No, Constellation didn't get the lowest price, but they do bid it for us.
Never heard of them. No.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
And by the way, if you want to report, I'll let Mark say, I really enjoy going to PML. You've been to it before. But
Yeah.
This time they had a lot of workshops on stuff that the embedded social policeman, that was a very good thing. And I had that on my list to talk to Chief Gardner, and we're already doing it. So there was some nice programs like that. I wasn't real happy with the speakers this year. I don't think they were as sharp as they've been in the past and as good. But other than that, the breakout sessions and the vendors were very good. They had a lot of good information there.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, and lastly, yes, included in your packet today was the manager evaluation.
I didn't fill it out yet.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't expect you to get it filled out.
Can we complete this electronically, Mike?
You'd be sending it to Nigel, I believe.
I've got
we have done that.
I have 2 or 3 years on the computer electronically.
I did it electronically.
If you want,
Can we do an infill?
Well, do this.
sure.
Keep an eye on your basket, because I'll fill it out and I'll put it in your mailbox out here.
Okay. I mean,
Well, I can do it, Pastor. I just,
as long as I think, as long as I have it by our second budget session on
Okay.
October,
that would
November,
be sufficient
November
time
6th.
to, yeah.
November 6th, okay.
And yeah, you could do it. You could email it directly to me if you. I think I'm.
Do you want Deb to share the digital copy of that with
If
you,
you
Denny?
can,
So,
yeah.
we can do
And
I
that.
can fill it out
Yeah.
and get.
Bruce, did Deb email you the manager evaluation with the packet?
Believe so.
You believe so?
I don't recall having seen it. I was just looking at my email, so.
Okay.
No,
No.
No, she
Okay.
didn't, Bruce.
it wasn't part of Bruce's packet. I will send it to him tomorrow.
Great, thank you, Deb. I just, all right,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
great. Out of here.
No. Okay, we're adjourned. Did you turn the light off yet?